Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our second meeting today. And I'm going to begin by inviting everyone to rise and join us in singing "O Canada." I'm going to invite Councillor Uhrig to read our land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We would like to begin by acknowledging that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which includes the Chippewas of Nawash Unceded First Nation and the Chippewas of Saugeen First Nation. We also recognize the Métis whose ancestors shared this land and these waters. We extend our gratitude to all Anishinaabe and Métis people and their descendants past, present, and future who continue to care for and inhabit these lands and tend these waters.
Thank you, Councillor, and I'll just invite everyone to join us in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Looking around the horseshoe, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? I see none, but if it occurs to you at any time, please bring it forward then. Announcements. Deputy Mayor, you are usually to be counted on for an announcement or two.
Yes, that seems to be the case, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much and good afternoon, everyone. And really, these are just two reminders. This Saturday, February the 28th, is our coldest night of the year event from 4:30 until 6:30. And everyone meet at Rotary House. And the walks are either 2 kilometers or 5 kilometers. You can pick up pledge forms at the Rotary Thrift Shop, 34 Trowbridge Street West. And all of those funds will go right back into Rotary House, and it's shared with the United Way. March the 7th is International Women's Day, and we did mention this at our last meeting, but that's at the United Church and supported by the Meaford Culture Foundation. So thank you, Councillor Uhrig, for that. And there are 3 guest speakers, Bonnie Sitter of the Farmerettes, and she's going to be speaking about that play, Onion Skins and Peach Fuzz. Our own Jessica Kenyon is going to talk about her life story, and Julie Higginson is a local beef farmer. Tickets can be purchased from Andrea Roylance at 705-440-6755 or Andrea Roylance 61@gmail.com. And if anybody didn't catch that, you can reach out to me for sure. And this year's role is all about the vital role of women in agriculture and community life. So hopefully we'll see you there, and men are welcome too.
Any other announcements from our side of the horseshoe? I'm going to turn it over then to CAO Everett, who has an introduction to make.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm just happy to announce that today is our new Director of Community Services first day, Brady Carbert. Brady is in the audience here with us, so he's had a full first half of a day during doing orientation. So we look forward to working with Brady. He's returning to us from City of Owen Sound. So really looking forward to working with Brady in the future. Thank you.
Welcome back, Brady. And if that's all the announcements, we'll move on to public participation. Members of the public are always encouraged to provide council with their comments and questions. Presentations must be prearranged with legislative services before the agenda is released and are limited to 10 minutes. If a member of the public wishes to make a deputation on items on the council agenda or to ask a public question of council, they may do so either in person at the council chambers or remotely via Zoom. Members of the public wishing to make a deputation or ask a public question must register in advance with Legislative Services by 10 in the morning on the day of, and you can do that by contacting Deputy Clerk at meaford.ca or calling 519-538-1060, extension 1110. An email with access information will be sent to those who register for remote participation. Deputations are limited to 5 minutes, and public questions are limited to 2 minutes. And just a reminder, the public can watch this meeting live via the Municipality of Meaford's YouTube channel, www.meaford.ca/YouTube. We do have 2 deputations on our agenda items today. And first, I'm going to call upon Leo Longo, who is participating online and speaking on the Community Improvement Plan approval today. Are you there, Leo? Do you want to unmute? I don't think that he's on the phone, so if he is there, I don't think he has that problem.
I've opened it up, should be there.
Calling Leo Longo. Well, perhaps if he comes on, can you hold him until we have our next presentation? Then I'll move on to item number. Pardon? Are you there, Mr. Longo? We're just gonna see if we fix this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead then and with our second presentation, and it is Paul Young, who is speaking to the motion for decision by Deputy Mayor Keaveney. Paul, if you like to take the microphone, and you know how to turn it on, you're an old hand at this.
Some experiences you enjoy, some you don't. I'll keep it short. I've only got 5 minutes, and I've already disclosed why I'm here. I'm here to make a case to the voting members of council to reject the deputy mayor's motion to dissolve the PSAC committee. The reasons stated for doing it, to paraphrase the motion, has to do with redundancy for what IACC is doing, and that there's no longer be a need for PSAC. And as many of you know from readings, my treatises, I do my homework. So I looked into the terms of reference for the PSAC, and I looked into the terms of reference and the responsibilities for the IACC, and I do not see that they overlap. And as a matter of fact, despite all of the handicaps that the terms of reference have impeded the PSAC's committee progress with, I view, and many people view, they've done a fairly good job of presenting the sentiments of the townspeople and some of their concerns to council. And their job is not over. The CBA has not been publicly shared with anyone in the town. And I believe that PSAC has a contribution to make to the final tuning of that CBA. And any of you who were at the public meeting at the town hall know that there's a considerable groundswell of people in town that are now more and more interested than they were over the last few years in where this project may go. So once again, my concern is PSAC is doing a needed job, and IAAC will not do that job. And I think that killing it at this time will be seen by the public at large, who are subject to lots of misinformation as well as real information, and lots of innuendo and accusations that people have over a beer. I think the public will see this as a bad thing, and it could be election suicide for anybody that votes at the coming election. Anybody that votes to kill this, and this is a public meeting, so everyone's going to get to see who votes to kill PSAC. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Do we have our other speaker available yet? Just maybe one last call, Leo Longo, if you're online. You have a room full of people waiting to hear your presentation. Okay, I think we'll proceed to move on in the meeting, and in the event that he does become available, perhaps we can backtrack. So, and are there any public inquiries today? I see none. So, council inquiries. Councillor Greenfield.
Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, an inquiry to either our CAO or our Director of Legislative Services. Back in October of 2022, former Councillor Bartley asked about getting more information concerning our air, light, noise, dust bylaw, that I believe was passed back in 2012. And one of our council strategic priorities was to update that bylaw. I think I remember Councillor Bartley was promised a report would come forward concerning potential changes or updates to the bylaw. I don't think anything has ever transpired, and I'm just wondering, with not too many months left in our term to address some of our strategic priorities, is that one that still may be coming forward for council?
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Greenfield. In regards to the two bylaws, one, I would say, when it comes to the dust and the lighting, oftentimes Ministry of Environment is the one that looks after that. I do know in my previous experience, we have a number of bylaws that are in place, and also under some other legislation, there can be enforcement. However, where I've found is in regards to anything outside of the residential, so your commercial operations, that's typically an MOE that comes in and would actually supersede any bylaw that the municipality would have. I do know that this has been brought up before. I know there is a laundry list of bylaws that are actively being worked on by staff to bring forward. This one here, I'm happy to bring more information on, and just in regards to what levels of government and what ministries would actually be the ones that would supersede. Like I say, my previous experience in the neighboring municipality in the commercial area was municipality actually had a bylaw, and when it came to enforcing and determining the level of involvement, and when it came to the enforcement piece, it was actually the Ministry of Environment that actually had the deciding legislation on their side to be able to identify what was required or what wasn't required. Hopefully that's helpful.
Did you have a supplementary, Councillor Greenfield?
No, thanks, Mr. Edward, for that. I just can't understand if that is the situation, why we ever had a bylaw in the first place. Anyway, thanks for your help today.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Greenfield, it's a very good point. Oftentimes, municipalities sometimes believe they have the jurisdictional authority over areas and establish bylaws. I can think of a tree bylaw as a great example of one that, depending where you are, the municipality may not actually have jurisdiction, might be county, maybe Grey Sauble. Before just moving forward with the establishment of bylaws, the research needs to be done. Because I say lots of municipalities do go down that road and establish bylaws where they don't actually have the authority to do so.
Deputy Mayor, were you, did you have a, no? Okay, anyone else on council question? Okay, then we can move on to the consent agenda, and we've got 3 items here. What is your pleasure? Would you like to vote on them all at once, or do you want to take 1 or more items out for separate consideration? Everybody's content with 1 vote on these, okay. Now, I think I ought to read each of the motions just so people understand what we are voting on. So and I'm just looking for a little direction from our clerk here. Is that appropriate?
Thank you, Your Worship. We just need 1 motion to mover and a seconder to, if nobody is interested in pulling A, B, or C, we just need a mover and a seconder for all items A, B, and C, and there's no discussion on that motion. It would just be a vote. So if anybody has comment, it would be appropriate to pull that item to discuss.
Okay, my point is the public doesn't know what we're voting on unless they happen to have an agenda in front of them, which I imagine the majority don't. So is it appropriate to read at least the motions that we're voting on here?
Absolutely. You could read the motion or the subject, the nature. This is not the first time that these have been in front of
No.
council, of course. So even just the title to remind
Thank you.
everybody what we're.
So what we're approving here are, first of all, that Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford for the property at 334 Sykes Street South Plaza. 1, deny the additional fascia sign variance request for the south facade of the building over the pre-existing doorway. And 2, deny a canopy sign variance request for all canopies. The second item is that Council of the Municipality approve approve the 2026 Community Improvement Plan with the addition of language to support the creation of a space for doctors or ancillary services in section 4.3.3. To activate all programs included in the Community Improvement Plan for 2026. And 3, direct staff to bring back a summary report of the 2026 operating year in January of 2027. And item 3, the recommendation is be it resolved that bylaw 2026-19, being a bylaw to adopt a community improvement plan for the community improvement project area of the municipality of Meaford, be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. So can I have a motion to approve these? Councillor Forder, a seconder. Councillor Greenfield, thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? And those motions are carried unanimously. Items for consideration today. The first is the recommendation, be it resolved that bylaw 2026-19, being a bylaw to appoint a deputy treasurer, be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Greenfield and Councillor Uri. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried unanimously. The next item, the recommendation is be it resolved that bylaw 2026-21, being a bylaw to appoint a chief building officer, be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. A mover and a seconder for this, Deputy Mayor Keaveney and Councillor Forder. Any discussion? Yes, over to Director Cand.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Welts was able to join us today, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to introduce him.
Thank you very much.
He has been a building inspector and began his career in 2013. He has spent 6 years in his experience as chief building official in Grey and Bruce counties. He is also accredited as a Red Seal carpenter. So we are very happy to have Mr. Dieter Welts join the municipality of Meaford as our new chief building official.
Welcome aboard. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So with the personnel joining us as chief building official, this council in the middle of some difficulties. We have had the chief building official of the city of Owen Sound, the staff help us. We've also had before us a group of people who would be able and have had, I suspect, help us. What will transpire with those two things that we have currently before our chief building official joins us? Will we be getting rid of them? Will it come before council to dissolve that activity? What will be unfolding in the near future?
I'm happy to answer that question through your worship. So we have dissolved the relationship with RSM because we've transitioned to our partnership with the city of Owen Sound. As we transition Mr. Welts into the position of chief building official, and as we continue to repair and improve our building services program, we are going to keep the city of Owen Sound on the books as being sort of resources for myself and for Mr. Welts as we do that good work. So in the event of a vacation or anything else like that, the city of Owen Sound will still be able to help us. And on that basis, you know, any financial consideration is only on an as-used basis. So we don't pay anything for the city of Owen Sound's sort of on-call assistance, only when they're used by us. So, and it's been going wonderfully. So if it's the will of council to continue in that regard, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. We're ready to vote on this. All in favor? Any opposed? I see none, so that is carried unanimously as well. Now I'm ready for a motion to move into committee of the whole at 1:21 this afternoon. And the first item, sorry, Councillor Yeri, do you have a, oh yes, we have a motion, right, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Forder, all in favor? And any opposed? That is carried unanimously as well. The first item, the recommendation is that Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford approve the establishment of a family physician recruitment and retention incentive program that provides a range of options to assist in the addition of family physicians within the municipality of Meaford. And two, direct staff to formally request through a fulsome call to the community and its stakeholders to consider the provision of funding to a family physician recruitment and retention program that would include the municipality providing charitable tax receipts to those who provide funding to the program. A mover and a seconder, Deputy Mayor Keaveney and Councillor Ennis, thank you. Discussion on this motion? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I was just curious. I'm a little, I fully support this idea, but I'm a little bit worried that it might take away from what the hospital foundation is doing in attracting. I wouldn't want to create a program that's going to sort of essentially like take funding from you know, their pool of donors and put it kind of, you know, spread it around. So I'm just wondering if there's room to solicit input from the hospital foundation to make sure that we're working on something we would both care about and want to see succeed, but make sure that we're doing so in a way that isn't going to harm their ability to fundraise as well.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I can respond to Councillor Ennis if you would allow me. The mandates are very different. The Hospital Foundation raises funds for capital only. They do not participate in doctor recruitment. So these funds would serve entirely different purposes. I appreciate your thought that perhaps people will have to make a decision now of which they might support. But in my mind, if we don't have doctors, then you know, we put our hospital at risk. So I think this is a very important program, and I think it's very innovative, and I really appreciate our CAO bringing this forward to us. And I think it allows Meaford to be seen as doing something, again, very innovative and creative. So I fully support this, and I'm grateful for it. I do have a question, though. We talk in point number 2 about a formal request through a fulsome call. So I just wondered if we could dive a little bit into fulsome to get a sense of how this might be promoted within our municipality.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor. In regards to a fulsome call out, doing a formal communication piece that outlines the criteria, I think is a good opportunity, because at the end of the day, the report does talk about, the ability to provide a charitable tax receipt. There still has to be the test against the CRA rules. So being able to put it out in a very clear, concise manner of what the program actually looks like. This report is a little bit, I'm going to say, a little bit reactive, because we have had interest from the private sector in regards to providing funds that assist with physician recruitment in a couple of different ways. Council, if you recall, there was also a report for the loan program that council approved the $100,000 low interest loan to a physician that allowed for upgrades to and renovations to allow for additional doctors in an office. So the goal of this program is, rather than using, let's say, taxpayer dollars, it allows for the municipality to have a fund that individuals can put into that will help, hopefully, you know, limit the amount of taxpayer dollars going into physician recruitment. I think we all are aware that physician recruitment in healthcare is the responsibility of the province. Unfortunately, the province is falling short on that end of it, and municipalities are actively trying to fund physician recruitment, which, during the Roma discussions in our deputation with the Minister of Health, it was refreshing to hear the minister say that municipalities should actually stop putting funding into doctor recruitment, because it's really creating this competition. I will say that where I think Meaford could be best served is, looking at how we can house the doctors. I think my concern is right now, if we were successful in getting recruiting 3 or 4 doctors, my question is, where are they going to practice? And that's where we're really going to be hamstrung. This report, and by being able to look to the community to generate some funds, could assist with, looking at how do we actually find locations where physicians can practice. And right now, I think a lot of municipalities are recruiting, but not looking at, at the end game, where are they actually going to house these physicians? So this report is reactive, but it allows for a process to be put in place, council's approval to actually do this, and then being able to set up the criteria. So donors will know whether or not they could actually get a tax receipt or not. I think another thing that we learned at Roma was oftentimes donations they're actually considered sponsorship. So we have to be careful of receiving dollars where people may think, oh, I can donate, but it's actually a sponsorship, and the tax receipt is not available. So hopefully this report gets us to a closer spot where we can receive funding to get a bit of a reserve going. Thank you.
Councillor Forder, and then Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you, under the financial impact component, number 2 states the recipient must commit to practicing family medicine for a period of time determined by council. So I'd just like to know, what a reasonable commitment be in a situation like this, and what sort of mechanisms would apply if, say, a physician leaves early for some random reason? Thank you.
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Forder. So the agreement that we're looking at right now with the loan, it's very detailed, and if the physician decides that they're going to leave the area, they have to pay back the loan right away. Now, depending on the size of money that they may be sourcing, I would think that's where council would determine whether or not it's a 2-year commitment, 3-year commitment. I do know that some programs that have some funding, they're required, the practitioner is required to remain in practice for 3 years. So I put that in the report just so council has the ability, rather than say it's it's one way all the time. Depending on the funding, I think council has the opportunity and should have the opportunity to set those limits.
Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a couple of questions, if I may, through you. The first one would be to, well, either the CAO or to our Deputy Treasurer, Mr. Dinsmore. Currently, the municipality has no funding in in this program if it does get approved. So there's nothing in the 26 budget from municipal tax. Okay, all right. Thank you for that. The other question I have is I'm kind of struggling with charity versus sponsorship, and I know you've partially explained it, but to me, I've always thought of it as a charity as if you make a donation to the food bank or to the agricultural society or something like that. Funding for doctors, I guess, historically hasn't been in my mind as a charity type funding. So I'm just wondering how we explain that or how we can cover that.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. The main difference between charity and sponsorships is the end, the person receiving the funding. So in this case, as the municipality is the one receiving the funding, it's a charity because we are a not-for-profit, we are deemed a charity, whereas a doctor is not, they're a commercial entity. So to give dollars directly to the doctors would be deemed sponsorship. So that's the difference. It's how the end entity is set up.
Thanks for that. I think I understand. I was thinking a doctor, a physician, and God bless them, do earn a fairly substantial wage through their services. And I guess putting the term charity with them is to me a little questionable. But I don't have any objection with the plan. I think it's a great idea. We do need doctors. I'm very fortunate to have a family doctor, but a lot of people don't. And if we can get even one more, preferably 2 or 3, this is a great idea.
I thought you had a good analogy there, Councillor Greenfield. The Ag Society, we need agriculture, we need our farmers, and they struggle. And I think it's the same story. We're struggling without enough physicians to take care of the people in our municipality, and we need to find ways to attract them and to support them to get established here. So, any further discussion or questions? If not, I'm going to call the vote. All in favor? And that is any opposed? And then I declare that passed unanimously. Thank you. So we have a couple of items for consideration here. The first is recommended that bylaw 2026-19, being a bylaw to appoint a deputy treasurer, be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Did I? You know what? I probably skipped that accidentally. I am on the wrong page. I beg your pardon. So item B is the recommendation that Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford approve the 2026 through 2030 proposed council training schedule. A mover and a seconder for this, Councillor Bell and Councillor Forder. Discussion? Councillor Bell? Sorry, all in.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Wow. What a load that the new council is going to be faced with. I reflect when I was first elected, I think I had 4 good training sessions. One was a basic orientation of what it's like to be on council, pretty standard procedure stuff. The other one that we got was our code of conduct. How do you behave yourself? What is that level of behavior that you deal with? And along with that, there was information given us on the Municipal Act, where it's all tied together. We also went into sessions on priorities for the new council. Again, pretty standard items. And we were given information on what it's like to step into the role of a councillor and take on the outgoing council's budget. What was involved, what was happening, brought us up to speed. When I see what is proposed for the new elected council to go through, I think it's about 2 meetings every week, and it's pretty solid for the first couple of months. And all I can say is that after they get elected, maybe that month of November, they really do take some time with family and friends, because they're going to be really, really busy. But what that really does show us is that the dynamics of being on a modern day council have changed. They have changed rigorously, and they have changed legislatively. There is more power now granted to the integrity commissioner than there ever was. And all of these things that the new incoming council will go through, to some of them, I think they're going to be surprised. I think it'll come as, oh my goodness, what did I really get myself into? I mean, even with the few that I mentioned for myself, it was the same thing. I have to go to another meeting. I thought it was twice a month. And it's just not that way. So anyway, I opened with the word wow, and I think I'm going to end with it too. It's going to be heavy, and you know what? It's going to be needed. And that's the point of this whole schedule. Thank you.
Councillor Ennis.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I echo what Councillor Bell has said, and to sort of put my own line of thinking on essentially the same ideas. As somebody who is employed full-time, I'm looking at the number of days required, and I'm glad that I don't use my vacation days very much for anything else. But which I'm fine with and have the benefit of being in this position right now and having seen this report. But I worry that any other candidates that would want to be running or would consider aren't necessarily going to see this. So I think it's really important that as the clerk prepares the election materials, it would be a very good thing to certainly provide to candidates upon them going through the nomination process, but ideally before, so that they can make an informed decision about whether they choose to run. And I'm just thinking about how sort of the front end of the training schedule has multiple full days, which are going to be right before the full days of budget process. And so it's going to be a lot of time, and to make sure that people are adequately prepared for that is going to be very important. Also, I noticed just as a finer detail that the annual budget training, I only saw it in year 3. And I would argue that that should be in the first 6 months. I mean, ideally before the first budget, but as Councillor Bell pointed out, they're kind of just going to be, stuck with it as sort of as it is at that time. But I think that would be a great addition.
Oh, but did you have your previously, and I'll come around.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. Yeah, I agree with all of those points. And when I first got elected and the training commenced, it was a lot like drinking out of a fire hose. So to those that are part of the next term of council, just buckle up, but it's all for good reason. And I see the importance for this. However, in the training, and if I missed it, I apologize, but there are a lot of emerging municipal risks that I didn't see mentioned in the training, specifically social media governance, cybersecurity awareness, and climate resilience or sustainability governance training, particularly when Councillor Bartley brought forward a motion declaring a climate emergency in the municipality. So I think incorporating that into the training to some capacity would be absolutely critical. Just looking for some feedback on that, or those are just my suggestions. Thank you.
Just as we go around the horseshoe, I'm just going to say, when you are the mayor and the deputy mayor, you just times two on all those meetings. It was overwhelming. I think Councillor Urick and then
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thanks staff for the report. It's interesting, Tony, because you said you've been on for 3 terms. So when you first had your training, because I thought when I got on 4 years, 3.5 years ago, that a lot of this was familiar. It seems to me that we did a lot of this. So, and it's funny, it was my wife that commented, I thought you only had 2 meetings a month, not me. So my question would be to the clerk is, do we have an idea of whether this was kind of all encompassed in our last training, or how much of this is actually new? And if it is, I think it's necessary. Don't get me wrong. I'm just curious about how much of this is different than what we may have done, if any.
Thank you, through your worship, to Councillor Urick. This was put together by our CAO based on some experiences that he's had previously. I would say a number of the sessions were similar. I mean, the Grey County ones as a clerks group we're organizing again, which you will remember. We delivered this very differently, I think, over the course of the new term of this council. And I think we've, over the time that I've been here with the 3 different councils coming in, we've tried to deliver it in different formats. And so just finding what works, to Councillor Ennis's point, to try and find the balance between the volume of information we're trying to share in the timelines that work in sort of staged in ways. So I think a lot of the subjects are similar. This is maybe just a more thorough overview of how to move this forward than we've had in the past. I'm not sure if that helps answer that, but.
It does. It just looks a lot more scary when you see it laid out, like, 'cause we got it by rote last time and it wasn't presented like that. Otherwise, it might not have ran.
CAO Everett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And really the highlight that I just like to bring forward to this report is shifting the idea to council gets training and orientation in year 1, and then that's it. This is really shifting to year 2, year 3 in particular, where there's just some refresher training going on. Everything from, code of conduct. I think in this document, I've also included some like development charge workshops, like those types of legislative pieces that council really needs to understand, that when you approve something like a development charge background study, you're not necessarily pre-approving the reports that are in that study, because that's through the budget, but you sort of are, because you're collecting dollars from the development community for projects that you've identified. So the other piece, and I'm not sure, I do believe there was some site visits. This report identifies getting council on a bus and going to our facilities and getting inside the facilities. So that way, when we do budgets, I can think of a number of the facilities that we have in this municipality that, quite frankly, I don't know if council really truly understands what's behind the doors. Because when I first got here, I did my health and safety inspections and went into every single building in this facility or in this municipality that the municipality owns. There's some incredible facilities. Looks like a door, but you realize it's 65 feet underground. So you may see a capital project that is a couple of $1 million, and you look at that and say, well, it's a door. Like, you don't understand what's actually inside those facilities. So getting council into the wastewater treatment plant, the water treatment plant, the pumping stations, all of those areas, I think is really something worthwhile. Getting on a bus and doing that for a couple of days, and ultimately, I know council's all aware of this. When you get on a bus and you see the geographic size and you feel the geographic size of this municipality, it's overwhelming. I know I thought I knew where Meaford was, and then my first week I was like, Well, I didn't schedule that time for my drive around. Really, this is a schedule and it has flexibility. I'm glad Councillor Porter mentioned about the social media and the sustainability and the climate actions. The social media stuff will absolutely be in the communication part. I'm sure that'll be a lively discussion. The climate piece, absolutely, that should be in here. And I would normally have thought that that would be whether it is through development or infrastructure, public works. That's something that we have to incorporate as well. But we do have flexibility in this, and it's not meant to scare people. It's just, the reality is, and Councillor Ennis is bang on. Like this is a pretty important piece to be able to say to people, like if you're running, like there's a lot of work to this. So thank you for that.
I think Councillor Greenfield and then Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. When I first came on council in the late fall of 1998, there were no training courses. You were wise to drop in on the clerk treasurer at the time, and of course the clerk and the treasurer were the same person, so that was only one visit I had to make. Basically, it was on the job training, and you were wise to learn as much as fast as you could. Yeah, when I saw this, I thought in my grade 5 math, I added up 16 days of training in the first 2 months, and I thought, oh my. Plus, I imagine some initial budget days. It's going to be very, very busy time. But there is so much that new council members need to be aware of. The code of conduct, health and safety, which neither of those existed a few years ago. DWQMS, now that's been around for a long time, but that's extremely important. There's so many legal obligations that are out there that I know a lot of would-be councillors just do not realize. But hey, look, I can be responsible for A, B, C, D, and so the training programs I think are essential. I'm really wondering if somewhere down the line in the future that before one can put their name forward as a candidate to run for a municipal council, if they should be taking a month prerequisite course to prepare them just to put their name forward, because I don't think a lot of people have any idea of all these responsibilities, and it's not talking a municipality of 250,000, 300,000 people, but a very, very small municipalities, the responsibilities are all the same, the obligations are all the same. And the more upfront knowledge you can receive, the better prepared you will be for a position in the future. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor? Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Just the one point, when we look at the amount of training in the 16 days, I think for the public to understand that, the seven members of council are essentially responsible for an organization with over a $20 million budget. So 16 days of training, when you factor in an organization with over $20 million budget, that is a lot of training. But if you factor in what the responsibility is, not to mention all of the code of conduct, the integrity commissioner training, all of that stuff that, members of council are absolutely held to a standard, which they should be. But of how we are operating, I think that's the perspective of when I was putting this report together. having that perspective of just exactly what the level of responsibilities are and reflective of the training that's required to do so.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just want to start by saying how much I agree with what our CAO has just shared in terms of the responsibility and how critical it is to have this training. It will come up later in my county comments, but there has been a lot of discussion there, and we had a report recently suggesting about the opportunities to share training at the county level with the next councils. And I think the other piece of that is important too is that networking opportunity for the new members of this council to get to meet members of other councils and just to start building that. To your points, Councillor Bell, I remember when we had that first training session at the Bear Estates in Collingwood, and the representative from the province was there and suggested that, when a council's working really well, when reports are presented by staff to council, and maybe there's a few questions and some clarity and so on, and then everybody puts their hand up. And I think, that happens the majority of the time here in Meaford, that staff provide us such thorough information, and we make sure that we have clarity on it, and we support it. So we've got a really well-working council and staff that I think that individual would be proud of. Perhaps you remember his name. I don't recall it right now. A couple of suggestions I did have, though. I'm wondering if it's possible, and I know it will come up under the Code of Conduct training, but I'd like to suggest a real emphasis on confidentiality, just to make sure that all the members of the new council are really well versed in how important it is to be respectful of confidentiality. And another thought I'd like to see added, which I don't believe is here, conferences. Conferences are really important, and they're a marvelous opportunity again for networking and for learning. And I thought if there could be a mention somewhere in here about the opportunity to attend conferences, and again, thinking of those who are working full-time and the time that would be required, 3-4 days at times, and a couple of times a year, just so again people can plan for that as they're giving consideration to running for council. So thank you very much.
Are we ready to vote? All in favor? Any opposed? And that's passed unanimously. Thank you. The next item, the recommendation is that Committee of the Whole receive report CAO 2026-06, 2026 Compensation and Pay Equity Review Implementation Update for information purposes. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Greenfield and Councillor Urick. Discussion on this one. Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One comment I would like to make, and this directly correlates with exactly the conversation we just had about that. On page 134, it said overall staff compensation levels were approximately 9% below market, but then it said council remuneration generally aligned with comparators except for committee of adjustment roles. It would have actually been very nice, I think, to have what those figures actually would have been. I mean, I can go out and get publicly what I'll do other make, but I think it's important to know exactly where we do sit in comparison with all these other municipalities. And the reason I say that is I'm glad we had the conversation we just had, because people think we meet every other week, and we do not get paid a great deal of money. We're not Toronto where they're making $180,000 a year. And I'm not here trumping for getting a pay raise, because whatever we decide would be, budget's already passed and would have impacted the next council anyway. But I just think with everything we've just heard about the amount of time that's actually put in, more so the amount of responsibility we actually have, because we are, staff is making great reports. End of the day, we're putting our signatures on a decision that's handling a $20 million budget. So it always kind of amazes me that the salaries are as low as they are for councillors, because I think it precludes people who do work for a living to be able to make a commitment to do this, because it takes so much time. It is a part-time job, but it's not a part-time job. So I think as long as you keep it low, we keep saying, why aren't there more young people doing this? Why aren't there more entrepreneurs doing this? They can't afford the time. The only way they can afford the time is you give them more money. So we're chasing our tail here, but I just find that, and I realize it all comes out of taxpayer dollars, so that it's tough to make the argument, but you get what you pay for.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I think we're all here because we want to be here. We're here because we love this municipality and we love the work that we do and we want to do the best we can for our residents and to help Meaford grow into being the very best community it can be. So I respect the comments about, the pay is not enough to live on, certainly, but I think that is what it is, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So I think we're here for other reasons. My question, though, in relation to this report relates to benefits. I'm just curious to know if any benefits were compared through this process. Is that a separate process? And if it is, when would we be doing that? And where do we stand in relation to our comparators in terms of the benefits that we offer our staff? Because we've got amazing people and we got to take care of them.
Through Mr. Mayor. So when we looked at the 14 comparators, benefits were something that was looked at. From a benefits perspective, lots of municipalities have different overall benefits. I can tell you that Meaford's benefits are they're a nice type of benefit because the employees have the opportunity to enhance the benefits at their cost. I do know that that is a significant recruiting opportunity because I do know lots of other municipalities don't give you the opportunity to do the enhancements. It's just this is what we provide. So when we look at the 14 comparators, those aspects are considered. I would also say one of the areas that we'd ask for consideration as well is real estate aspects. Because again, living in the South Georgian Bay region can be costly. So those are included in that as well. So and that's for the same for counselors as well. So we looked at those types of maybe added pressures to be able to come forward with how we compared with those other 14. Thanks.
Councillor Forder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. With regards to the market adjustments to all grades, what positions or grades experience the largest market adjustments? And maybe you could comment on why. Thank you.
So I would say through this process, one of the areas that probably saw some changes was the last time the municipality did this process, they did not do the evaluation for, I believe it was grade 5 and below. So really it wasn't a full market compensation review. And like many of these plans, I would say probably the top 5 or probably top 4 or 5 steps typically get the biggest increases, just because over the course of time, in particular managers, directors, and CAO positions, those are they're a bit of a moving target. So when you look at the comparators, those are typically the ones that see the increase. And I would also say, by going through this process, we also did the pay equity adjustment and did the pay equity review. And I believe there was 2 positions within the organization that had an adjustment for pay equity. So that was another piece that we really needed to get done through this process. So I'm happy to say that the pay equity is something that we are up to date on and got accomplished through this. Hopefully that's helpful.
You ready to vote? All in favor? Any opposed? That is carried unanimously. The next item, the recommendation is that Committee of the Whole receive Report Development 2026-05, Public Art Master Plan Student Project for information purposes. A mover and a seconder for this, Councillor Uhrig and Councillor Forder. Thank you. Director Can, would you like to speak to this? Or Denise, that'd be wonderful.
I don't know who that tall person was before me, but I did just that. Thank you, Your Worship. So this is an exciting little project. Probably a couple people are already aware of it, but I wanted to make sure all of council is aware of this project. In the fall, we had the opportunity to put in some ideas for a student-led project as part of I think it's the advanced or the planning practice course at the master's level at the Rural Planning and Development program. That's the program I went to at University of Guelph. So that project or that program, this project that forms part of it, has been taken up by a couple of our neighbors and also Grey County a couple of times. You might have remembered the one that they did a few years ago on additional residential units. The one that we did in my year was about Grey County apple industry. So we've been lucky to be able to benefit from that program in the county. And it's exciting that our municipality was chosen for this little one, which is about doing a public art master plan. My understanding is one of the things that was really exciting about it was a little bit different than some of the things that they're usually doing in the program. But they do lots of recreational and economic development, other types of projects, tourism, et cetera, in this program as well. So they kicked off this project last week, and they started interviewing staff and going out there and taking some photos and looking at the parks firsthand, some of the parks and our facilities firsthand. And they'll be doing more of that in the coming days. And what we understand, one of the other things they'll be doing is a survey. And then there's some internal interview questions that they've provided to us. So if anybody on council would like to participate and hasn't been contacted yet, please let me know and we'll add you to the contact list, and there'll certainly be the ability to do the survey that will be made public. And so anyone can do that survey, and hopefully you will be champions of that and help spread the word as well, just as you're out there talking to people. And then, so obviously being a student-led project, this will wrap up very, very quickly because their term will wrap up at the end of March, early April. So they will actually be doing a presentation to their own class about it, and then they will be handing us their findings that we can tweak if we want, or take it as it is, however we want to use it or not use it, and it will be owned by us. So that's the exciting part about this, is we get some really good quality free labor in this, and also get to engage students, which is a great thing to be able to do for succession planning and recruitment and things like that, getting the word out about our municipality.
Thank you, Denise. Questions at Councilor Yorick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not really a question. I'm just gonna add, yeah, I did have a chance. I was asked to be interviewed by Emily Jeffries, who is the Guelph student who actually is one of the people that are doing this. It was an excellent interview. It was very exciting. She did a tour of the town, kind of doing an inventory of what we have or what could be. But it is really exciting that they've asked us for this opportunity, and this is going to position us really well to hopefully have a document that, yeah, we can tweak or adopt or use. But I see nothing but great advantage of this. And I would encourage anybody that she was also keen to talk to other counselors. I just happened to have the time that week. If you get an opportunity to do it, because she is looking for direct input on what that's going to look like. When we talked about the Harbor Master Plan and talked about a lot of initiatives that we want to do in our community. So this is a great opportunity to kind of just get a little input into something like that.
No other questions? Then I'll call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, Denise. That's really good work. So now memos, we have the building report. And I think we just have to receive it. We don't have to consider it really, but any questions for the Director of Development on this, or? Okay. So right now I call on Deputy Mayor Keaveney for an update on County Council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. County Council last met on February the 12th. And the meeting began with a delegation presented by Brad Mulligan, Andrew McCammon, and Jack Imhoff. The focus of their deputation was to encourage Grey County to undertake a county-wide stormwater master plan. The thought is to create a system that would bring consistency and best practices across the 9 lower tiers, where currently some invest considerably more in watershed security than others do. Minimum standards would be set to avoid inconsistencies across Grey County. It was suggested that this opportunity be discussed at our next Shared Services Advisory Committee meeting, so I'll report back after that. Considerable discussion took place on the council compensation review report. Funnily enough, we just had this report here. A fulsome remuneration study will occur in 2027 along with the non-union staff review. The debate focused on whether alternate members of county council should be compensated by the lower tier or the upper tier. In the end, the motion to have lower tiers cover the cost was lost. Currently, a county councillor earns $26,331.60 annually, with per diems paid for committee meeting attendance. Mileage is also paid for each member to attend a county council. Several changes were made to the county fees and charges bylaw, including the charge for paramedics to be present at events. 2 paramedics will now be compensated $200 per hour for their attendance. In general, fees are raised the cost of living annually, which equates to 2.03% for 2026. Grey Roots admissions increased slightly, and at Sydenham campus, you can now rent a single desk suite for $32.50 a day or $136.50 a week, a little bit similar to our SCP Center. In the early learning and childcare budget update, we learned that there's a shortfall of $1,490, which will be drawn from the Childcare Mitigation Reserve Fund. 105 new childcare spaces were created in 2025 across the county. There was also considerable discussion regarding the proposed 17B road reconstruction project. The Budget and Finance Committee had asked staff to provide options for this road section. Ideally, a combination pedestrian bike lane would be added to the area around Nichols Gully, but the cost didn't get past County Council. Instead, we supported basically a like for like with asphalt gutters for a total price of under $1 million. There's a major culvert on this road, which doesn't need to be replaced for another 18 years. And at that time, the council will have another discussion about some further upgrades to this road. The Joint Municipal Services Committee minutes were next. We discussed the possibility of countywide library services and requested a report from staff. It was determined that there really wouldn't be savings in amalgamating our libraries. And as well, the services offered are so very community specific around the county. So we just didn't think it would work to try to do a countywide service. Also, we talked about shared staff training, which we just addressed here today. So I won't share anything more about that, but their county's looking to offer training for everything from chainsaw safety to leadership development and again to council training. There's been discussion for over 12 years now on the downloading of particular county roads to lower tiers, as well as a few will be uploaded to the county. And I think we are aware of this, perhaps Eric, you're not. For Meaford, 2 sections will be downloaded to us from Grey County. The first is the section of Nelson Street. Grey Road 12 comes down and then becomes Nelson Street. So that section of Nelson down to Sykes. And that's from Pearson to Sykes, and Grey Road 7 from Muir Street down to the stoplights will be downloaded to us with a financial component. And I know that we'll have a report from CAO Everett when that time comes. over 10 years, we'll receive just over $2 million to assist us in maintaining these sections of road. We will have to decide if we're going to plow them or if the county's going to continue to plow them as they do now. The cost for the county to plow is between $9,000 and $9,500 per kilometer for the season. So we hope to have these transfers all completed before the end of this term. County staff will be coming here to share more details with us. This is I think it's a good thing for Meaford. There are some other communities that have some significant downloads that are quite concerned about this. The civic addressing changes will cause some considerable concern for affected residents potentially. The county will have a concierge service to support people, and staff, they've let it known that staff will come right to the home of a resident if necessary to assist. And I certainly shared that we have a school that may need some special attention, and we also have a hospital. They're already listed as Nelson Street, but I think that needs to be considered as well. So we have to make sure that our residents and our school and our hospital are all looked after. And that was it, Mr. Mayor, unless you have anything further to add.
Maybe just a couple of points quickly. I think that a big concern for us in Meaford is something they don't have to deal with at the county level is elections, but we do. And the electoral list will have to be adjusted considerably for all of the changes on these sections that we download. And it comes at a very inopportune time just ahead of an election. So I think that's one consideration. And the other thing I'd just draw attention to, the watershed, the idea of having a county watershed policy made a lot of sense to me from the standpoint they were emphasizing that if we don't exceed minimum standards, we will not, escape the consequences that there's. And I think that at a time when the province is throwing everything up in the air and letting it come down however it does, from Thunder Bay to Newmarket for one watershed, I think we maybe should be looking at a county system that takes the area into consideration, a larger area, and plans for the future. So those are my points on it, and thank you. Anything else? I think that was pretty much. It is. I'm going to go on to the motions that we have ahead of us. And I'm going to ask, the first one here has to do with a motion from the Pump Storage Advisory Committee, and it was moved at our last meeting by Councillor Greenfield and seconded by Councillor Ennis. Are you gentlemen going to reintroduce that at this time?
Your worship, and hopefully Councillor Ennis will second it again.
Okay, then I'll let you go ahead and present the motion.
Yes, if I may speak to it.
Please do.
Your worship. A couple of things. This motion did come forward from the Pump Storage Advisory Committee. It was introduced by a certain council member who is on the committee. Without naming any names, I think you'd like to figure that out. A lot, it's a little difficult because council members are currently involved discussing the community benefits agreement with our friends from Strategy Corps, and that's all in closed session, so that's all I'm going to say about that. But I can assure members of the public that council has been very, very considerate during those discussions with Strategy Corps. All along, we've talked about benefits here and there for the municipality. We've talked about healthcare, very important. We've talked about a number of community benefits, and I think everyone can imagine at least a dozen that would be great for a municipality. One area that I've been concerned about is Georgian Bay, and there have never been, that I know of, any benefits mentioned going towards Georgian Bay. Now, Georgian Bay can't speak for itself. TC is looking at a 50-year contract with the pump storage project to use the waters of Georgian Bay to basically fuel their project. So those waters are a very important factor. And I would like to see Georgian Bay getting some benefits out of this project. We're talking about a 50-year contract. If we can go back 50 years, maybe 40 years, Georgian Bay didn't have zebra mussels, didn't have sea lamprey eels. Now, both of them flourish in Georgian Bay. Up until about 15 years ago, we didn't have Phragmites. Now, Phragmites is a problem. We've got these round goby fish. We've got these sea fleas that eat up just about anything in the bay they can latch onto. So that's why I thought it would be within reason to bring forward a motion at the PSAC meeting. It was carried unanimously. We actually had an amendment made to it by Mr. Peel from PSAC. And it was suggested that it come forward for council's deliberation. Now, I would like to make an amendment to the motion, if I may, and it could go in as 2A, something to the fact that this above mentioned program would refer to the offshore waters adjacent to the municipality of Meaford from Owen Sound in the west to Christie Beach Road in the east. It was never my intention for TC to attack the entire Georgian Bay, but even if this program referred to our more local waters, we're talking fishing, we're talking recreational opportunity, recreational boating especially, we're talking tourism here. Lake trout numbers in the last 15 years have decreased 15%. Other fish species such as muskies, whitefish, pike, you name it, their numbers are going down, and primarily to these predators that are out there. Something needs to be done, and I really think a company the size of TC could easily get involved in some kind of a program to help remediate the invasive species, the destruction that they're doing to our Georgian Bay. So that's basically it. Your Worship, I hope I've explained myself.
I don't think that we've heard the motion, but should we deal with this proposed amendment and then get the motion? It's on the floor, but councillors have it, but I don't think that the public has much information about what we're talking about here. So yes, so I'm just looking to the clerk for some advice how you'd like to proceed on this.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think because it was introduced previously and we're revisiting it this time, I think dealing with the amendment on the floor would be the appropriate next step, as long as councillors familiar with what we're talking about as the starting point. So we do have the motion with a mover and a seconder with the amendment. And I just wanted to clarify, if I may, if that's the direction that we move forward. So.
How do you feel, Eric, about the amendment?
I think the amendment makes sense. I'm still, similarly to how I felt last week, I seconded this motion specifically today because I wanted to hear it discussed again, and I wanted to make sure it had time on the floor. From the benefit of my work experience, I know that a lot of these specific things will be in some way addressed through the impact assessment process and through the processes of the other connected ministries and organizations that are going to be involved in the sort of primary, secondary, and tertiary sort of realms of the whole IA. I do know that a lot of the things that are specifically mentioned in 1A, like the zebra and quagga mussels, the round goby, Asian carpfish, lampreys, water fleas, and the other invasive plant species. Think those larger issues, I've noticed that the broader system of project impact assessment and just health of the bay assessment has been lacking and has been neglected across the board. And so I think it's important to engage in initiatives that are going to tackle these problems. I don't know that this is exactly the way to do it and to put the municipality as sort of leading the charge of requesting this as a potential benefit for the municipality specifically. I think I would like to see a motion like this that is more focused on creating a collaborative organization, perhaps with TCE as a major proponent that affects the waters in our backyard, neighboring municipalities, and Indigenous communities, and to work together and other government organizations and agencies to work together to find a way to tackle this, because it does affect everybody. All of the municipalities on Georgian Bay, the other connected waters, and it's only a matter of time. If there are other bodies of water that aren't affected by these invasive species, they will be eventually. So I would be happy to see what everybody else is thinking about this this motion as is with the amendment. But I'm on the fence about whether or not this is I totally agree with the goal and putting ourselves in a position to champion the achievement of this goal. I'm just not sure that this is exactly the right way to do that.
Thank you. Councillor Uhrig.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I wholeheartedly agree. I agree in principle what wants to be done. So the documentary film that I know a few people have referenced on this was All Too Clear. It's called. Gray Sawmill Conservation Foundation showed it at the Earth Film Festival last year. I had a chance to meet the documentarians, saw the equipment they were using, and they've done a deep dive, no pun intended, into this problem in great detail. Having spoken with them, this is not a Georgian Bay issue. The Great Lakes issue. This is far beyond, and anything that we do from Owen Sound to Collingwood is not going to mitigate quagga mussels, zebra mussels, carpfish, et cetera, et cetera. Again, yes, would I like to see whatever bodies can come together. The interesting thing about that film and what they were with their research, there are already many agencies, much larger than ours, that are already working on these things and cannot find solutions. So for our municipality to try and take that on and to put a company like TCE and to say, you guys go out and help fix it, is unrealistic. So the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative is much more positioned to kind of tackle this at a very large, fulsome capability with conversations for all the Great Lakes to have to try and tackle these issues. But if we're going to do this to TCE, and I'm not trying to say they're going to let them off the hook, because they're going to have to go through all the proper regulations to make sure what they're doing is proper. The irony is what they're bringing in and putting out is clean water. The ski resorts south of us pull in 42 million gallons a day. Nobody's regulating what that's going back in as, and nobody's telling them that you guys better get out and put a 50-year plan in to say, fix it. All the municipalities around Georgian Bay pull millions and millions and millions of water out. gallons of water. We do through our stormwater and various agencies clean a lot of that for when it goes back in. Not all of it is, because a lot of it's coming in off farmers' fields, off cottage lands, off everywhere. It's going back into the water. So the problem I have with this, it singles out TCE, and I don't think TCE, it's not their mandate to be able to fix this problem. Yes, I would like to see them get involved somehow in a broader sense to do it, but they're not going to be able to solve these problems. So I don't see how us mandating that they tackle this is going to be efficient in any capacity.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I certainly agree with the comments that have just been raised. And I just want to acknowledge, because Mr. Young is here with us, we appreciate you sharing the documentary with us, and it was quite informative. Thank you for that. And my only suggestion, I mean, we recognize this is a problem for sure, a really, really big problem. And I know that the Great Lakes St. Lawrence is aware and is advocating for funding and solutions from their perspective. So my suggestion is that, assuming we get to that point and TC files and there is a public comment period, that this be forwarded as part of our comments from the municipality to IAC, just to remind them that, that we are concerned about this and we'd like to have their input and see if they have some pull to start to address this, and it wouldn't, we don't want to see it just for us. It is, as you say, it's a Great Lakes problem. So it is a big, hairy, audacious goal, as they say, but I think we can raise awareness is something that we can do.
Councillor Ennis?
So to that end of acknowledging that it is something that we can do, I wonder if with Councillor Greenfield's input as well, essentially rewriting the motion to position ourselves as a champion for this problem, or as a champion to trying to find a solution to these problems. And I don't know where we stand in terms of affiliation or association with any of the relevant groups that are working on this program, but perhaps it would be worth directing staff to start the process of getting involved in those types of groups.
We are a member of the Great Lakes St. Lawrence, projects. So that would be the problem we have right at the moment is that we're debating a motion that doesn't have a seconder anymore. So I think that we need to try and fix the motion that you can second it, and we could vote on that. Margaret, I'm sorry.
No, thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to clarify. I think you had seconded it, if I'm not mistaken.
He did, but
For the
he
purposes.
has in his comments on it has said that he is not really enthusiastic about seconding it anymore. I think that's.
Well, I was still happy to second it for the purpose of making sure it was available for discussion.
Okay. So he
Just when
said
it
he
comes
wouldn't
to the
maybe be
vote,
voting
I'm not
for it.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
is what I was expressing. Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. Councillor Greenfield, can you bail us out?
Thanks again, Your Worship, and thank you, Councillor Ennis, for that support. I had two primary motives for bringing this forward. Well, one was for the protection and the betterment, the enhancement of Georgian Bay, and I thought, wouldn't it be great if TC Energy through the municipality of Meaford would take the lead on such a project. This is a large company that does promote their environmental concerns. I think we've all seen that promotion from the company, and I thought this was okay. This is an opportunity for you to, maybe gain a little bit of good press too, good publicity. The other reason I brought it forward was we have heard over the last almost 7 years a number of complaints about the waters of Georgian Bay being harmed by the TC Energy, and I personally thought this is an opportunity to throw the ball into TC's yard and say, hey, look, you know, let's show us that you do care about Georgian Bay. Telling us that the status quo in Georgian Bay isn't adequate and that the company is very, very interested in the waters that are adjacent to this municipality. So anyway, thank you for it.
Councillor Ennis?
What if, and Councillor Greenfield, please, and everybody else, feel free to weigh in on this. I'm just thinking about what we were presented with earlier about the idea of students coming to town and working on projects here. I wonder if there is a way to, while acknowledging that, as we've said, TC Energy isn't really in a position to tackle this whole problem for the Great Lakes. We're a part of different organizations. I wonder if we take a proactive role in finding a way to offer students the opportunity to come do relevant types of research for their, probably, I assume, graduate studies, and as a municipality, try to solicit that type of work in partnership and in collaboration with TCE. I feel like that's a pretty good, productive way to, in our small way, contribute to this. Get good publicity for both the municipality as a place that really cares about the health of the bay and the waters, and for TCE Energy to share in that as well, while also staying within our jurisdiction's responsibilities and what is actually achievable for us.
Councillor Uri?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, yes, I agree that like there already is. Georgian Bay Forever already exists. My granddaughter actually, not last summer, summer before, actually worked for them for the summer and traveled all the way around Georgian Bay. They did water testing. They did the cleanup of various areas, and they looked at a lot of the traps to find out what they're doing, et cetera, et cetera. So there are bodies that, yes, are kind of doing that, and I fully am in support of doing anything that will encourage organizations and companies to do their best efforts to do this. My concern with this motion is point 1 says, upon approval, the authorities develop, finance, and carry out a 50-year rehabilitation plan. I mean, we're basically ordering them to do this on something that they really can't control the whole Great Lakes, and the Great Lakes impact Georgian Bay more than we actually even do from the shore. So I just don't feel that's a burden that's fair for us to put upon somebody else. Secondly, shouldn't that be part of the negotiation process with the CBA? I mean, if there's going to be anything that's going to be done, then that negotiation should be done from that end to say, what are you doing kind of towards, or what can we work together and do that as? But for us to kind of willy-nilly say, yeah, no, you guys develop a 50-year plan and fix Georgian Bay, I don't think that's fair and reasonable.
Deputy Mayor?
Perhaps the next step is to reach out to the principals at the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Initiative and ask them to provide a presentation to us so that we can all have an understanding of the work that they are undertaking in this regard, since we are a paid member of that organization. I think I agree this is a CBA discussion, and I agree that it isn't a problem that TCE can solve. It would be wonderful if they contributed financially towards it, but that's another discussion. But yeah, I think I'd like to hear specifically from the Great Lakes St. Lawrence folks of what they are doing at this point to assist with this remediation.
Councillor Ford?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you, this is very good conversation. I think we ultimately don't really know the specific one direction that we want to go with this. And because we always value his guidance and opinion, I'd like to lean on our CAO just for some advice to see, with all the information that's been discussed, what would your advice be to us with regards, how can we turn this into something that is realistic and actionable? I really appreciate your feedback, please.
Thank you for that. And through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Porter, I really, I do like the idea of engaging with the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway Initiative. I think having that discussion and quite frankly, adding some pressure as to not only what the TC Energy project, but all of those industries that are taking part in some level of water taking. Because quite frankly, I don't know if it really is considered that much until a project comes forward and then we start talking about it. But there's been uses like this for quite some time. I do also think that, making sure that comments are provided through the IAC piece is like, that's the formal process. So, also it allows for individuals of the municipality to provide their comments as well. So I'm assuming there's going to be lots of comments that IAC's going to receive in regards to the concerns about the water piece. But I do, anytime that a municipality can strengthen the argument in regards to making sure that, Georgian Bay as well as the tributaries. I know the Beaver River watershed initiatives, and it was mentioned, Mr. Mulligan, his group is doing wonderful work. They've been doing it probably for close to 10, 12 years. Anytime that we can look at, improving the watershed and Georgian Bay, we should be looking at every opportunity. So, from a guidance perspective, I leave it in council's hand. These are recommendations from the PSAC committee. There's been lots of discussion about the recommendation. But engaging with that Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities initiative, and I believe Warden Matrosov is still a director on that, and using that local contact to be able to be a little bit more influential on our behalf is a good opportunity.
Councillor Bell?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So I'm impressed with how we have had a long discussion on this after having our closed session this morning. You've been all very good on how you've been able to express things and not give anything up from this morning. So I think that I'm just going to wait for the vote to be called on this. And I will not find myself voting in favor of this. And that's because of one comment from Councillor Uhrig that we are singling out one corporation. What would happen with other corporations? Also, the comment was made about the ski industry. I will reserve comments on the pumping of water for that because I wouldn't want to cast a poor light on those who enjoy skiing, but they also do take water out. So I think that with the group asking a corporation to look after such things as the spring water fleas that may occur, to mention something minor compared to how major this is, I think that I will have further comments when it gets around to the deputy mayor's motion. So today, I want to thank the PSAC group. They are formed to give some of the comments that they talk about and have someone like Councillor Greenfield or Deputy Mayor Keaveney, after you're at those meetings, to bring something forward for council's consideration. And that goes with every one of our committees. I was really close on the Sustainability Committee, but that's what they do. So thank you all for being very careful on what you were saying. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing multiple comments on this. That was gracious of yourself. Thank you.
So I'm just curious, Councillor Greenfield, whether you would consider um, withdrawing the motion at the present time and coming back with a rewritten proposal that would incorporate some of the ideas that have been expressed at the meeting today. Like, does that have any appeal to you, or? Go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'm getting the distinct impression that my suggestion is not going to be approved this afternoon. And actually, a couple of minutes ago, I did have a thought that perhaps we could ask for another referral on this motion to go back to staff and have them re-prepare a motion with hopefully somewhat of the intent of what this has brought forward, but by expanding it with other possibilities. And if that was the case, I would be satisfied with that. If my fellow council members thought that that was a more advisable step, then I do think there's some merit in keeping at least some of this motion alive, or at least the overall direction of it, and I'd be quite satisfied if we could come up with something that would do that.
Thank you for that. I think that you've had a lot of support around the table for the overall concept. And when I say the overall concept, I'm talking about the big problem on the Great Lakes and the fact that it needs a solution. So my next question is to the clerk, Margaret, just whether or not we can simply which is the best procedure for Councillor Greenfield to withdraw the motion, and we deal with another motion to direct staff to defer this and
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wondered if our CAO had any thoughts at this time. Maybe it's helpful if I provide a summary of sort of where I see this at this time, and then perhaps there could be additional conversation from there. We have a motion on the floor with a friendly amendment to simply specify the location of the focus. There was a talk about deferring until maybe after a presentation from the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Initiative to get more information. There was a discussion about perhaps replacing the entire motion with an amendment, perhaps that Councillor Ennis is starting to form, but I'm not sure I myself, without more guidance, could figure out the wording on that. There is the option to vote on this motion, and then a notice of motion could come forward from Councillor Ennis or another member of council who might want to take a different direction after the discussion. Those are sort of the elements from the conversation that I've heard as options at this time, but happy to have more discussion, and I can provide input if that's helpful after.
I'm just a little reluctant to see the motion defeated. I don't want to send a message to PSAC or to Councillor Greenfield that we don't appreciate the work that he's put into this and the fundamental thrust of it. So I think in my own, I'd like to get it, you yourself, Councillor Greenfield, suggested another deferral. Can we say that that he is withdrawing his motion and will bring back something, or that we will ask staff to prepare something based on the discussion?
Thank you. I'm not sure at this time if staff have enough information to prepare a motion that would come back. I think that's probably, as I say, maybe a better notice of motion from council with the option, with the information that they've received. The option to defer is certainly one that we could see. I think withdrawing the motion effectively eliminates the motion.
Oh, I don't want to do that.
So I don't know that that's the spirit of what we're trying to achieve.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And in trying to think off the top of my head, may I suggest then that we direct staff to reach out to the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Initiative and ask them to come and do a presentation to us specific to the, the state of the Great Lakes in terms of the issues that are mentioned here, so that we have an understanding of their advocacy and their position. And then once we have that information, then turn it back perhaps to Councillor Ennis or Councillor Greenfield to redraft a motion that then with that additional information could be more specific towards something that is accomplishable.
And Councillor Ennis?
I think that idea makes a lot of sense to me. I have a few thoughts of ways that we could kind of rework the concept. What Councillor Bell said is resonating with me. Like, how do we also do this in a way that isn't singling out any particular organization? So I could see a system where without at this time not knowing kind of exactly what that organization is working on, and or the membership fees, donations, things like that. I would really appreciate receiving that kind of presentation, and then maybe from there, once if we ask them to bring like what are some identified needs that we could help champion for you, then perhaps we could say, okay, well, what if we, whatever our contribution is, we will ask that any organizations with proposals that kind of cross into your interest area, they match our contribution to you, or something like that, so that you would have additional funding, and they can kind of share in the responsibility of looking after that. So I think a presentation like that would be really helpful to understand kind of what those needs actually look like, and then we can find a way for us to help support them in through actions, as opposed to also just being like a member of the organization.
So I think we need a sort of a multi-step process here, and I just want to be clear on the first step. In my mind, is just for Councillor Greenfield to withdraw the motion at this time. Okay. You tell me what the first step is. That's what I'm looking for.
No, my apologies, Your Worship. My suggestion is going to be that the motion be deferred to provide an opportunity for staff to invite the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Initiative to present on this topic. So again, rather than withdrawing, which would effectively remove the motion.
Oh, yes, I've got a short memory.
No, that's okay.
I'm just what I'm concerned about here is how we actually do move forward with this on the table at this point in time.
Certainly. So if we had a mover and a seconder for a motion to defer, that deferral motion can include the opportunity to invite the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Initiative to present, and staff can take that direction and see if they're able to come to present on this topic. This would be a deferral motion. So after that presentation, assuming that it would be, the first meeting of the month, the second meeting of the month, this motion would then return to council at committee of the whole, similar to the step that it did to return today. With the new information, we can see where we go from there. Certainly gaining more information from the presentation would hopefully shape the next steps of the resolution.
So, Deputy Mayor, are you going to move something then at this point?
Yes, I will move exactly what Margaret just stated.
Oh, so it's moved by Deputy Mayor Keaveney and seconded by Councillor Uri. Exactly what you said, Madam Clerk. So does that mean we can move on?
Well, we would probably benefit from a vote on that, and then
Yes, that
I
would
won't
help.
offer any more procedural advice.
You know what the motion is. So I'm going to ask all in favor. Any opposed? And that is carried unanimously then. Thank you for all the help there. Now we have a second motion that was deferred from February the 9th. And it was moved by Councillor Ennis and seconded by Councillor Forder. And I'm just going to ask you, gentlemen, if you want to bring this motion forward at this time. Okay, so it was your motion, Councillor Ennis. So if you would perhaps speak to it and maybe, you know, make our audience aware of what is in the motion.
Sure thing. I can start by reading it. So the Committee of the Whole recommend that Council of the Municipality of Meaford direct staff to start collecting, cataloging, and publishing, either on the municipal website through regular email updates or in another readily accessible way, the questions posed in regard to the pump storage project and the associated answers, including dates of the question and the author of the response. With this ties into comments that I will share later today. But I do wholeheartedly believe that although the municipality does not have jurisdiction over making major decisions about whether this project will go forward or not, I do think that we are absolutely responsible for making sure that the members of our community are well informed and feel confident in the fact that we actually do care about this project. And I think that just maintaining this kind of communication would go a very long way to making sure that everybody is kind of on the same page and at least halfway unified. We've been very concerned about divisions in the community caused by this project, and not to necessarily blame this project, because I feel like any major project is going to kind of have the same effect. But something of this scale really deserves some special attention. And I was thinking back to Roma, one of the sessions that a couple of us attended. A municipality discussed or shared their program to communicate to their residents, their businesses, to tourists and visitors and community organizations, whoever really it would affect, about the rebuilding of their main street. And they shared timelines and milestones and questions and changes to access and how to move around and what noise would be occurring and when. And also just doing a really good job of kind of memifying it a little bit and making it something that the community could sort of emotionally and socially participate in. And I think right here, this is a perfect way to kind of start doing that. It's the basics for that sort of program. And I think that if a municipality felt another similar municipality felt that it was important to do that kind of work for a Main Street rebuild that lasted, I think it was a couple of months, but maybe it was over a year. It was 2 years? It was 2 years. Okay, so it was 2 years. So still a significant amount of time, but if they thought that was necessary, I think that certainly we should feel that this is necessary for a project like this. And we have a web page sort of set up to do this already. As far as I can tell, it hasn't been updated in a little while, but we kind of have the bare bones. At some point before I joined council, it was apparently agreed upon that this was a good idea, and I would like to see that continue. And the municipality really is kind of the sort of core and heart of the community, and I feel that it is our responsibility to really foster the connection of like being engaged in a major thing that's happening in one's municipality and in their community. So for that, I would wholeheartedly support this motion. I would be interested to hear if there are any potential amendments that could make it a little better, or perhaps more relevant or accurate for kind of how we would like to see it unfold, or if that's necessary at this time. But this is something that we should absolutely take responsibility for.
Deputy Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, and I want to say congratulations on a very excellent argument, Councillor Ennis. I appreciate it. I'd be the first one to say, you know, communication is key. It's number one. It's so integral to everything that we do. We can't do enough communication in our municipality with our residents. On this particular one, though, I do have a concern because I'm not sure this is completely our role. Particularly the thought of the FAQs, the listing of the questions and the answers. And my concern is, where are we going to get those answers? We know some of the questions are going to be technical, they're going to be challenging, they're going to be engineer related, they're going to be legally related. And that means that we as a municipality are going to have to engage third-party experts to respond to these questions. And if this is our means of communicating with our residents, then it would be my assumption that we're going to be paying for this, that this is going to be taxpayers' dollars. This is not likely something we could submit to TC Energy for cost recovery. So I am concerned that we are opening a little bit of a can of worms if we approve going forward with this. So certainly I will look again to our CAO for his comments, but yeah, I am concerned that we would have to hire those experts because people are looking for accurate answers. And we can't expect our staff to have the expertise to answer those, again, technical, engineering, legal type questions. So that the funding for that is definitely my concern.
We've passed it to Sean. I would say, maybe I'm alone in this, but I feel very strongly that this would be an additional burden. This isn't a project that we're proposing. I could see considering ourselves responsible for paying for this type of effort if we decided to rebuild our main street, but this isn't something that we're deciding to do. So to my understanding of the phrasing, this would be an additional burden imposed by the project. I also don't think it would be too big of an investment. We're already redesigning our website, and so there's a unique opportunity here to create a system where we could be doing this for other things. It's only a matter of time until we have to rebuild our own main street or other similar kinds of projects. So to have this infrastructure kind of set up for us from a communication standpoint might be a huge help in the long run. And yeah, those are my 2 points. Thank you.
Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Deputy Mayor and Councilor Ennis. All great comments. Yeah, I'm gonna look to Sean to say exactly who's going to do this, because obviously this is gonna be staff burden and who is going to be responsible. Presumably, communication is gonna be part of it, but yeah, I have a big concern as well, as Deputy Mayor said, is where are the answers coming from? Once again, are we duplicating IAAC roles here? Because any of the questions that come in that are going to be technical and related to the project, shouldn't IAAC be doing that? I mean, can we on our website have that portal that has that information so people know where to find it? But I don't think it's our ability or task to answer a lot of the technical questions that are being asked.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Urick. I did have a third point originally, and then I'll go to that. The third point being that I'm also okay that if we don't have an answer, we can just simply say that we don't have an answer, that we're trying to find out who can give us that answer, and at least acknowledge the fact that we don't know and we're trying to find out and what steps we're taking to find out. Also, there is going to be a lot of questions that are going to be answered by the IA already. And so we can just say, this is going to be in the IA. Once we know what that answer is, it will come then. And here are the milestones. And this is roughly the 90-day window where we're going to start to hear back on some of these things. So it will probably require some effort in organizing of the communications team. But as I will allude to also later, I think there is room for advisory committees to play a really, really key role here to help inform us, to do some of the heavy lifting of like sifting through some of that information and getting it to where it needs to go, finding answers, figuring out how to translate them into a way that is community website ready, and to kind of identify the things that residents are going to be really worried about. And there's something you said, Rob, at the end.
share. So we're the source.
Yes, and I was going to use the analogy of, the reality is if people are really concerned about the conservation authority issue in this community, they're not going to go to the province or any of the ministries to find out what's happening to the conservation authority. They're going to call you, Rob. So for us to try to offload that responsibility, I don't think it's right. This is a thing that people really care about, and if we're going to sort of take up that mantle of making sure we're a good conduit of information. We all recognize we can't do anything here, but we can make sure that people are informed. And I think really the fear that I'm seeing and the anxiety that I'm seeing in the community isn't a result of people actually wanting us to do something we can't control. They're wanting to know that they're heard, they're understood, and that somebody is making sure that their voice is actually getting to where it needs to be at the volume that it needs to be there.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So maybe a direction on this particular motion is to request a report from staff providing us some information on how this could be done and what the associated costs would be, what the financial implications would be of, hiring those experts to actually answer the questions. Because if we're going to take this on, I think, we need to be able to post answers. I don't think people will be happy if we post, we don't have an answer today, check back in 90 days. I don't think people would be happy with that. I think if we're going to do it, we need to do it right. And that means we would need to hire the experts who could provide the information. So my thought again is to ask staff for a report that would provide us that information, and then we can make a decision.
CAO effort.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And my fear is the report is going to be too late. I want to be crystal clear here that once IAC starts the process, that is the formal public process. So I can bring a report and get council's endorsement to find these experts, but that window of IAC could be closing. And when this body does not have jurisdictional authority over something, it's tough for us to be able to get in the middle and start providing responses by third party. Because what happens if that third party is saying something different than IAC, right? Like, it's one thing, and I hope nobody's in the room who's an engineer takes offense to this, but I can get an engineer to give me a perspective as long as I pay them for that perspective. So, this is the same discussion I had at PSAC, where my recommendation was there's nothing wrong with our website directing people to the source where those answers can be provided. Because I've seen it, not just with the pump storage, but if we provide a response that an individual doesn't like, then it's just a back and forth. And I really am fearful that people who may not either choose to know what the process is or are confused with the process, which to be honest with you, I think IAC did a great job in their session. People need to understand that send your questions through the IAC process, because IAC had said those questions received at some point will be identified that these are the questions that we heard. So, and here's the responses, right? So for us to get into the middle of it, and I understand the public sees council as being that conduit, just in these particular cases, it's not the right conduit. It's no different than, if we have a residential development that goes through a process and then that part of that process is coming to council through the formal public meeting and then comes in 2 months later and makes comments. The formal public meeting is the planning process to make your comments. And then same thing for an advisory committee. If you make your comments at the advisory committee, those do not make the formal comments. Like there's specific, and that's why with advisory committees, I'm often torn because I think advisory committees have a really good place in municipal governance. Sometimes they get confused that just because you ask a question or make a statement at an advisory committee, it doesn't make it part of the formal record. So sometimes we have these counterintuitive processes going like concurrently, and unless you know the structure of municipal politics, you think, well, I made the comment at an advisory committee, I don't have to go to the public meeting. And I've seen that happen a number of times where individuals are actually quite upset because they lost their opportunity to make that comment in the public forum. So I'm completely supportive of, you know, the municipality receiving comments in the PSAC. I had suggested that, you know, we can have the links and our website actually has, you know, the project updates and it also under the frequently asked questions, the resources and related documents. I think that we can, and my suggestion at PSAC was like, give people an easy access to here's where you can ask the questions or here's where you can get the information. PSAC not necessarily supported that and came back with this resolution and I think it was member Vaughn that brought it forward by proxy but it's like we're at your discretion here of how you want us to move forward. I'm just very fearful of people thinking that the conduit for information and getting questions is confusing, that it's not the actual formal process. So probably confused it more than I needed to, but hopefully that's helpful.
Councillor Forder seconded the motion. We haven't heard from him yet, and I'll go back to Eric.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. And I appreciate your comments, Sean. That helps put things in perspective. And while I agree that the municipality, we really should do everything we can to act as a vehicle for education for residents, logistically, this might be a problem for us for the reasons stated. For Councillor Ennis, it might be worthwhile considering amending this. What is our next best option, which would be to still have presence on a municipal website, but simply guiding residents or viewers to the right channels where they could get the answers that they need, whether that's IAC or any other location. But I do agree with the time and the funds and finding the experts and everything that's involved. I think we might be setting ourselves up for failure, taking on something on the website that we may not be able to see the completion of it, or to be able to verify the accuracy, as it might conflict with other expert opinions. So over to Councillor Ennis with the mayor's indulgence, just for comment on perhaps amending this slightly.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm totally on side with amending it, and CEO Everett's comments of this idea of relying on the journal of record, I think is spot on and very well said. And yeah, I don't think it would be in our best interest. I agree to maybe seek our own answers. But I think we could at least relay answers that the Journal of Record has provided. We had the presentation from IAC last week, 2 weeks ago, whenever it was at the hall. And I, just looking at it and working with these organizations, when I have a different hat on, I do see value. The municipality could really do a lot of good for our people by sort of curating some of this information. I think it's great to hear it directly from IAC and from the agencies that they are working with on this process. But even if the municipality were to then take that and do something very similar of just like, okay, well, here's a flow chart of like IAC does this, and then they feed in this way. And these people or this organization gave this answer, and even if we just work, the highlighter, while providing the whole document. We know that, this came up a lot, so here's where that's addressed. We still don't feel necessarily confident that the Journal of Record has addressed this or something like that, even if there were just kind of small qualifying statements, could really go a long way. And again, I see where that sort of burden of just working the highlighter could be done by something like an advisory committee. So I would be totally on board with amending this motion. I'm not exactly sure the best way of how to go about that. But I could also see maybe even just if there was a mechanism. I mean, we are very fortunate to have what is, in my personal opinion, a very good local news outlet. And I see an avenue maybe even for them sort of taking that on, perhaps just with funding or something like that specific to this project. I don't know kind of what the most on-side suggestion is here, but those are the kinds of things that I think we should be trying to accomplish for taxpayer value.
I'd just like to throw out, if I can, because I see this as a very large make work project. And what I clearly heard at the IAC meeting was the process is this. And I'm not clear whether, I think we're already into a 30-day window, which is we're not. Okay. Well, then, does anybody know when it starts? Just soon. Anyway, when it comes, and I think it is soon, there's 30 days for people to register either their question or their comment. They'll entertain both. But believe me, that 30 days is going to be gone like that. And people in the community need to be focused on this opportunity. This is a one and only chance to inform the organization that will make some pretty critical decisions of what their opinion is or what their question is. And I think that the most important thing we can do at this time is just urge people to pay attention to this and participate in it. Councillor Ennis?
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. To that end, I would say that yes, once the proponent does file the initial project description, the IPD, that is when that sort of first 30-day process will start. But there will be additional comment periods from IAC specifically, as well as all of the other associated ministries and agencies. There's going to be a lot of different opportunities where we, the municipality, the corporation of the municipality, as well as the municipality in terms of the community, will be invited to submit comments. And, making sure that there is sort of, a good collaborative understanding. I don't think the federal government, they specifically said that their mandate is to make sure that the project, whatever its harms or negative sides are, and this goes for any project under their jurisdiction, whatever the harms are justified by the greater good of Ontarians and Canadians. And that might not necessarily be the best thing for the people of Meaford. And of course, any of those harms would be mitigated as much as possible. But I feel it's our duty to make sure that people have to really put a strongly concerted effort to make sure that everybody in our community is on the same page, that everybody in our community has, access to the same information. I don't know if you've ever been on the IAC website, but it isn't exactly the most conducive to really getting an understanding of what's going on. It's very confusing. And I've been on that website many times over the last 3 or 4 years to pull comments that people have submitted. But it's just not user friendly. It's one thing to want to get involved in your community, but if you have to also learn how a whole new website platform functions, you'll be in trouble. There's a reason that over the last couple of years, most government agencies that provide some form of customer service function, Service Ontario has been doing a lot of this, I've noticed, where they're having to redesign the user interface of all of their websites because they just aren't good for people to get information quickly. And if we want to alleviate and do our part to alleviate and mitigate the concerns and anxieties and just negative affect and experience of of our neighbors, the best thing we can possibly do is just help give them information. And to sort of myelinate that process as much as we can. Because at the end of the day, they might be able to say, well, you didn't get us those answers, but you at least gave us an opportunity to find them, and make it easy for us to access and understand. And that's something although we don't get to make a decision on this, that's something I could still feel very good about, knowing that we made sure that everybody had as much information, I mean, it's hard enough for us. I mean, we at this table don't all fully understand the process. We don't fully understand all of like the nuances of when it actually starts. And at the very least, maybe something like this would just help us figure out what's going on.
See, what I see, Eric, if I may, is simply that there is no agreement on the questions or the answers amongst the people. You could publish a list of questions and answers, because that was not the answer to that question. Because that answer came from Save Georgian Bay, and this answer came from TCE. I think like it's I think we would find ourselves exasperated with the fallout of it, that we would there would be more complaints than there would be any kind of satisfaction.
But
is my sense of it anyway. And
I think, Mr. Mayor, that's why, to follow CAO Everett's point, we rely on the Journal of Record of the registry. Those answers will come in the reports from IAC and the other agencies. And we can do our part to say, okay, well, here's that answer. It'll be a task. It will be a task to figure out which questions to, let's imagine we create our own registry, to figure out which ones are good questions, that we need answers to. That's not a nothing task, but we can at least say, okay, that was answered. We can feel good about that. That was answered. We can feel good about that. That one was answered. We can feel good about that. And by the end of it, with any luck, if we can just give people that information, we can at least stop people from harassing us for, not in such a legal sense, but in a general sense, trying to find, just constantly asking for those answers when we can clearly see, hey, here it is, it's right there. And we can all feel good that that answer has been published. That one hasn't maybe, or that one hasn't. We're still waiting on feedback from that one, but at least here's where everything is at.
I think Councillor Urick, and then I'll come back to you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yeah, I totally see where you're coming from. And I agree with you. It's just what's the vehicle? Because, and again, we need to amend this somehow. So just spitballing here, I'm just going, if the committee of the whole recommend council and municipality Meaford direct staff to start sharing instead of collecting, cataloging and publishing, to start sharing either on the municipal website through regular email updates or in another readily accessible way, the questions posed to IAC and other pertinent agencies in regard to the pump storage project and the associated answers, including dates of the question, author of the response. Does that get you where you want to go? And that gives staff the room to try and figure out what that vehicle is going to look like that fits into a way that we can actually make it work. If for us to try and direct that, we have to understand the departments that are going to work on it, the website where it's going to go, but we're getting into the real minutia. What we're trying to do is direct staff to do the best way of sharing this information. And I think that, to my mind, at least is a shortcut way of getting at least the broad strokes to come back, and then we can figure out whether that kind of gets you to where you want to go or not.
I would then maybe look to staff to figure out, is that like a doable sort of avenue then?
Through Mr. Mayor, I think working with Ms. Maroney and her team, I think we could come back with some suggestions. I will say that the IAC website, the Government of Canada website for the impact assessment, if individuals want to take some time and look at the Bruce C nuclear project, it's one that they've moved to next step. So they went through the planning. Now they're in the impact statement. It's actually a pretty informative website from the standpoint when you get into the all records. It's a fulsome list of all the work that's been done. They keep it up to date. I know the last submission was February the 20th. So looking at that to say, is this something that, either we're not aware of, or this is what it looks like? I think might be good when, maybe if we can get Holly to maybe do a report for council and just say, this is where we could maybe, enhance, or this is the formal process. I know Holly's in very close communications with IAC, because that, 2 weeks ago when we did have the information session from IAC, we purposely kept the municipality out of it. I would have loved to have had that session in a non-municipally owned building, but that was an IAC process. So maybe coming back to council and just walking through the IAC website with the benefit of the public listening as well, maybe we can help people navigate it better. I think there's some options. And again, the goal is to get the information out. I think our number one goal is to get the information out about what the next step in the process is. And that's something that I know that Holly's been talking to IAC about like get something visual so that people can see, okay, this is my opportunity to provide comment, and I'm providing comment about this, and what are the next public comment stages. So that's something we can absolutely do relatively quickly.
Are you ready to vote on this? Sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think we've had very interesting discussion, and just in recap, it sounded like there was a motion from Councillor Uhrig to replace some of the wording with a little bit of a different direction. There was also discussion at one point for a staff report, but I think that's taken a different direction. So just in the interest of making sure that we're on the same page, and for the minutes to make sure that we're recording this appropriately, Councillor Uhrig, would you want to repeat the wording for the motion, and we'll capture that as we go, if that's the next step for council?
I will do that only on the auspice that you're kind of in agreement that is the flavor of what you're going for. I don't want to reword your amendment and take it out of context. But if you agreed with kind of where I was going, and if it fits into what Sao Everett said, then I'm very happy to say that the committee of the whole recommend the council of the municipality of Meaford direct staff to start sharing either on the municipal website through regular email updates or in another readily accessible way the questions posed through IAAC or other relevant agencies in regard to the pump storage project and the associated answers, including dates of the question and the author of the response. That's where I was going. Sorry.
I would just say also the wording of either on the municipal website through regular email updates or in another readily accessible way, to me reads as though it's giving the direction to pick one of those and not necessarily do all of them or some selection of them. So I would just change that small bit of wording, but otherwise, yes.
Deputy Mayor?
I just want to make sure that I'm clear, Mr. Mayor, on the motion in front of us. So are we saying then that people can submit their questions either to us or to IAC? If they submit them to us, then we will refer them to IAC if they're challenged by the IAC website. Is that what we're saying? No, what are we saying then?
No, my intent was literally to share the information from IAAC and other agencies, not for us to be the middleman, us to share that platform. We may, to Eric's point, have a better chance of disseminating the intent of the question and directing them to where it needs to go, or at least getting them to the proper vehicle, as opposed to us trying to answer it in any capacity, or trying to take that question on and pass it on to IAC. No, we're not trying to put ourselves in the middle of it.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And again, once again, I'll just refer to the IAC website, because again, under this Bruce C nuclear project, right now there's 301 comments on the Bruce C nuclear project, and you can walk like they're not sugarcoating the comments. Like, they are real comments from individuals, which might be an opportunity for council and members of the public to go on to that website, and we can absolutely share that website for everybody. But the comments are from individuals who, you know, are either supportive of it or have concerns of it. And to me, it's something that, quite frankly, and again, selfishly, I think that's great for us to share to the public, saying, like, here's what Bruce C is. It's not the Ontario Pump Storage, but this is something that you will see if and when TC Energy makes application. So it's actually a pretty good read, and it's quite informative.
So can we hear the motion then that changed to?
Certainly. Thank you, Your Worship. With moved by Councillor Urick at this time, that the motion be replaced with that Committee of the Whole recommend that Council of the Municipality of Meaford direct staff to start sharing on the municipal website through regular email updates or in other readily accessible ways, the questions posed to IAC or other relevant agencies regarding the pumped storage project and the associated answers available. The only clarification I might offer is that other relevant agencies is quite vague, so I'm not sure if there's some criteria there for staff to get some guidance on what that looks like, or if that's.
Related agencies rather than relevant, because I see related versus relevant then maybe, because again, IAC does, it's a panel of agencies that all work under the auspice thereof. So again, so IAC and related agencies might be more specific.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it would be best to provide a list of all of the agencies, but I don't have that off the top of my head. So I mean, I'd be happy to perhaps not, she's not here to give her more work, but send that back to Holly to figure out which ones we should list and then go from there.
Okay, so do we need to, how do we get from the motion on the floor to this motion that we've just heard?
Thank you, Your Worship. At this time, we have a motion to amend, so we would need a seconder for that motion. And again, I'm happy to read it again if there's any question about the nature of that motion. We would need to have a seconder and we would have to vote on that amendment. If it passes, we would have a vote for the main motion. If it's defeated, we're back to the original motion.
Okay, so is there a seconder for this, Councillor Forder? Any questions before I call the vote? All in favor? Any opposed? So that is carried 6-1. Thank you. So now do you want to vote on this, accepting this motion? Or is that fait accompli? We just voted on it.
Thank you, Your Worship. Now we've got the final vote for the main motion. So one more vote because the motion has been replaced. And now the final vote for that.
Okay. Do you wish to hear the motion one more time? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? So,
Pardon me, Mr. Mayor. What was the question that we're to be voting on when we revert back to the original motion?
no, this is a motion to approve the motion that we just accepted as a replacement for the original motion. Sure.
Through Your Worship, the motion that's on the floor for final voting, that Committee of the Whole recommend that Council of the Municipality of Meaford direct staff to start sharing on the municipal website through regular email updates or in another readily accessible way, the questions posed to IAC and related agencies regarding the pumped storage project and the associated answers available.
So, Mr. Mayor, you've already asked for comments on that and that time has passed. Is that right?
No, we haven't voted on accepting it. So if you have a comment, just go right ahead.
Do we actually think that we can ask ISAC when they're in the middle of collecting information, that we can direct staff to go ask them to release back to us what they're taking in so we can tell people what they're getting? Like, do we have that power to do that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we have the power to ask, but they also have the ability to say no.
I don't think we can invite your participation at this point in the meeting. I'm sorry. No, I think we have to abide by the rules. Sorry. Eric?
I would just add too that, at some point they will publish those answers. So then we can share those published answers. I mean, if they're not going to share them before I would understand that they probably won't publish them before they're, give them to us before they're published. But after they've published them, then we can do our part of, putting them to our community in a way that our community would prefer.
Councillor Yurick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, to clarify, Councillor Bell, I was talking about public, like sharing the completed information from IAC, not us sourcing from IAC, because that's what the comments are essentially doing. We're not trying to get in the middle at all. We're just trying to publish what is readily available and give a clear direction from our municipal, because to his point, we're trying to make it easier for people to go, oh, I can go to the Meaford website and find that link to go where I need the answers.
Okay, so any further discussion? I'm going to call the vote on this amended motion then. All in favor? And that is carried. Just ask any opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. I just refer, there are reports there that if you have any questions on, now is the time. Investing in infrastructure, strengthening our community advisory committee and other boards and committees. Any committee reports at all, or Councillor Greenfield?
Thank you, Worship. We did have an investing in infrastructure committee on and it was for the well, a couple of reasons. One was to get the final report for the infrastructure advisory committee. A few of the things that we have accomplished over the past year or two, and there were a few. Director of Engineering joined us, and our deputy clerk, and they introduced the recommendations for a new terms of reference for the future infrastructure committee. I think a lot of good comments, a lot of positive comments from the committee members, and we had three of our public members there. A bit of sad news from one is that he is moving out of the municipality. So he said even though he would like to come back in 2027 beyond the committee, that he wouldn't be able to because of his location. But the other two members there indicated that they would enjoy coming back, or at least applying to come back for the infrastructure committee. And I think it's going to be maybe a little more, not literally hands-on next term, but figuratively as far as projects that are coming before us in the world of infrastructure. So I think all good news.
Thank you. Councillor Forder?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. I have a brief library board update. We did meet last Wednesday, February 18th. One of the things that we discussed first was the draft terms of reference for the Owen Sound North Grey Union Public Library. We had pretty good discussion. It was a hybrid meeting as well, which was quite nice, as I was under the weather, but still was able to attend. A lot of really good discussion, good feedback. So I do expect an updated draft terms of reference to come back to the next library board meeting, where we can continue to refine, see what that looks like. We also did have the library variance reports for December 2025 and January 26. And everything looks all well and good. And a couple of housekeeping items, but lastly, we did have 5 policies that are due for update. And that's going to be reviewed by the Policy and Governance Subcommittee. And so that will likely be done between now and our next meeting, which is Wednesday, March 18th. That's all I have for you today, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Then I need a motion to move out of committee of the whole at 3:34 this afternoon. Moved by Deputy Mayor Ebony and seconded by Councillor Ernest. Thank you. Moving on to councillor motions. Any notice of motion? Sorry,
Apologies, just procedurally, we do need to vote on that.
sorry. So all in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. There any notice of motion today? I see none. We have motions, and Councillor Urick, you're next with your sponsorship policy motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any luck, this one might actually be simpler than the last couple. This harkens to a lot of the conversations we've had over the last couple of weeks and even earlier today about potential sponsorship. So whereas the corporation of the municipality of Meaford engages with community organizations, service clubs, and the private sector in support of municipal programs, facilities, events, and initiatives. And whereas the absence of a formal municipal sponsorship policy may result in inconsistent practices, uncertainty for potential sponsors, and reputational or financial risk to the municipality. And whereas municipalities across Ontario have adopted sponsorship policies to ensure transparency, fairness, accountability, and alignment with municipal values and strategic priorities. Therefore, be resolved that Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Meaford direct staff to research best practices and develop a comprehensive municipal sponsorship policy for Council's consideration, including but not limited to guiding principles and eligibility criteria for sponsorships, approval authorities and financial thresholds, sponsorship recognition, advertising and naming standards, including consistency with existing municipal bylaws and policies, risk management, legal and reputational considerations, and monitoring, reporting, and oversight mechanisms. And that staff report back to council with a draft municipal sponsorship policy together with any recommended implementation measures by Q3.
So it's moved by yourself, seconded by Councillor Ennis. Discussion on this, questions, Councillor Ennis?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to confirm for myself, I don't know, it wasn't obviously clear to me. Is this for the municipality giving sponsorship or receiving sponsorship?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, no, this is for us naming rights for us to receive sponsorships from businesses, entities, etc.
Councillor Bell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can fully support this. Just using my latest example with the Veterans Crosswalk. We need to have something there so that that organization or organizations can know how it's going to function, who they see, and I fully support this. And I think your timing is good on this. I can vote in favor of this one.
Any questions? If you're ready to vote, all in favor? And any opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Deputy Mayor, you are next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I feel that we've had some lead-in conversation to this motion already today. We've had a lot of conversation about the role of IAC as it relates to the upcoming comment period, which we will assume will happen relatively soon after TC Energy files their application. That introduces the formal process, and we're familiar with that because all of us did attend the IAC information session at Meaford Hall on the 12th of February. So We now know, of course, that concerns can go directly from residents or from the municipality or from Grey County right to IAC, right where the answers can be shared. And we now have a process in place where those questions and answers will also be provided on the municipal website, and that link will serve us well, I'm sure. So I think part of the reason for this motion is recognizing that, the timing of things, and our CAO already alluded to that, if PSAC were to continue and people were to, again, bring motions forward and so on, that timing just might not work out to get those comments to IAC within the 30-day period. So I think we have all heard our CAO speak to this more than once today, and he's been very clear. And so I'll read the motion just for anyone listening. Whereas the Pump Storage Advisory Committee, PSAC, was established with the terms of reference through bylaw 2024-13, unanimously supported and approved by the Council of the Municipality of Meaford on March 11th, 2024. And whereas Council of the Municipality of Meaford passed an updated Pump Storage Advisory Committee terms of reference through bylaw 2025-54 after a working group conducted a review and suggested updates. And whereas bylaw 2025-54 states that council wishes to continue to receive citizen advice as it relates to the proposed pump storage project. And whereas the terms of reference state that PSAC exists at the discretion of council and may be dissolved by council resolution. And whereas the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada, IAC, delivered its first presentation to the residents of Meaford on February the 12th, 2026. Whereas the IAC facilitates sustainable development of major projects through open and efficient assessments, identifying ways to ensure the environment and Indigenous rights are protected as projects get built. And whereas the role of IAC is to review major projects to support sustainable development, protect the environment, and uphold the rights of Indigenous peoples with an emphasis on collaboration and meaningful participation. Therefore, be it resolved that the Pump Storage Advisory Committee be immediately dissolved so as not to conflict with the IAC process, which is now the formal avenue for public participation as it relates to the proposed TC Energy Pump Storage Project as soon as they file. I'm adding that because we all know that that process has not been initiated yet, but as soon as TC files. So I think it's self-explanatory, and I know everybody will have lots of comments to share, but again, the point being that the IAC process is the formal process for concerns to be expressed from the municipality, from residents, from the county, from whomever. That is the avenue. So that would be the primary reason then for dissolving PSAC, which we didn't do prior to this in the report to council where other committees were dissolved, because at that point we didn't have any sense of timing for this IAC review. But now that they have been to Meaford to address us, we know that that is imminent. So I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
So is there a seconder for her motion? Councillor Bell, thank you. Discussion, questions? Councillor Greenfield?
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks, Deputy Mayor, for bringing this suggestion forward. I have a few things, a few comments. Going back to the meeting a week ago, Thursday night at the Meaford Hall, the young lady who spoke for IAC, jotted down one of the things, well, a few of the things she mentioned, but one she mentioned was that IAC is to evaluate the positive and negative impacts of the pump storage project. And I thought, boy, that sounds familiar. The exact words that were stated in our first terms of reference, I fully realize we have had a revised terms of reference last fall. Yeah, to me, the PSAC committee, and I don't think it's any fault of their own, but to me, they haven't really ever got started yet. We're hearing the same questions we heard 6-7 years ago. many of the same questions. And unfortunately, there have been so many more questions than there have been answers. But to me, PSAC has a lot of other areas they could be entertaining guests at presentations, deputations. We've never had anybody from the DND. We've never had anybody from the SON. We've had limited information from Mr. Little with TC. We've had questions about home insurance. We've never had an insurance agent speak to us about flood protection, so on and so forth. We've never had anybody come and talk to us about real estate values. Are your properties going to go up in value or down in value? We've never had anybody from the East Grey Hunters and Anglers, no presentation from the Chamber of Commerce, no presentation from Regional Tourism. The opportunities are there, and they go on and on. I see PSAC as a kind of a local grassroots entity reflection of IAAC. And IAAC does, they provide a forum to accept questions and comments, but there's nothing for discussion, nothing discussion at the local level. This project, we talk about our wastewater treatment plant project, $150 million. This project is likely $7 billion. Our municipality's never seen anything like this. It needs to be talked about. It needs to be discussed. There needs to be questions asked and answered. And I think there's still a place for PSAC to do that. I really don't think this municipal council wants to take away that avenue of conversation. To me, that simply flies in the face of democracy. And I don't want to see that happen. Someday, eventually, yes, PSAC will become redundant. I don't think it's there yet. Thank you.
Councillor Forder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you, how I look at it is keeping PSAC really preserves Meaford's institutional voice. When we look at it, IAC's mandate is to weigh national interest, whereas PSAC's mandate is to ensure that Meaford's interests are clearly articulated and clearly addressed, and those are not the same thing. And while IAC facilitates public participation, it does not replace council's responsibility to organize and represent Meaford's local interests. So that remains our responsibility and will continue to be so. So ultimately, what is the harm in keeping PSAC for the time being? And to Councillor Greenfield's point, down the road, yes, there may be an opportunity to dissolve it if that happens. But to look at dissolving PSAC now before this project has even been registered with IAC, I think is very premature, and it leaves the municipality at a disadvantage when it comes to the municipal voice of the residents. So if there are concerns that maybe the voices that come out of PSAC are slanted in one direction, then perhaps the terms of reference need to be amended. But I see tremendous value in the work that PSAC's doing. And a little bit of a sidebar, this municipality, we struggle with volunteer participation on advisory committees. We have problems with quorum. We just dissolved the Ensuring Sustainability Advisory Committee because we were having issues with quorum. I have the same issues with the Heritage Advisory Committee. And so we have participation problems. PSAC is not one of those. We have people that are passionate and engaged and really want to make a difference. And by dissolving PSAC now, particularly the timing, it puts a message out to the public that we don't need your voice anymore. And I can't get behind that. And with respect, I won't be voting in favor of this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Ennis.
Thank you. I just need a second. I wrote a fair bit and said a lot of it already, so I don't want to be too redundant. And my fellow counselors have also said some of the other new ideas that I had. But reading the motion as it's written, I don't think that it addresses the. It's a better way to phrase this. I don't think the mandates of the PSAC are really an issue with the goal of this motion. The version of the terms of reference that I'm looking at, and I just want to make sure they're the current ones, are October 6th. I think October 6th, 2025. Okay, seeing a nod. So if these are the current written mandates, here we go. To engage with, inform, and listen to the community of Meaford, number one. Number two is to facilitate respectful, accountable, transparent community engagement and provide a safe platform for public input. Number three is to promote openness and proactive communication between the municipality, TC Energy, and the community. Number four is to contribute to the development of strategies to align and maximize local benefits. Number five is to be informed by and review technical and social research on pumped energy storage facilities when made available. And number six is to provide recommendations to council with respect to comments, concerns, and areas of interest identified by the community to learn more about the proposed pumped energy storage facility. Now, I will concede that I think number five kind of overlaps a little bit, but for the most part, this committee's mandate is written as being exactly what we've already today agreed is important for the municipality to provide as taxpayer value. It's it's important to have a portal where we're able to give people to get them into as sort of coined today, like the journal of record on this, to get a direct avenue for them to input their comments. Because that isn't PSAC's, it shouldn't be PSAC's role. And as the mandate says, getting comments into IAC is not PSAC's role. It's simply to share and relay information with all stakeholders in our community, the people that make up Meaford. And I don't think that dissolving this committee will be a good sign for advancing this. To just say, hey, go to the website. We're taking away the opportunity for everybody to kind of have an open forum to discuss these things and discuss these concerns and highlight things we want to look at. I don't think is a good service. Let me just see here. Yeah, it was recently pointed out to me that Meaford Hall was an excellent collaboration between all three levels. The restoration of Meaford Hall was an excellent collaboration between all three levels of government. And again, I think the municipality has a key role in being in a sense a gathering place for everybody in this community, to be reaching out to organizations, as Councillor Greenfield had mentioned, to bring them into our sort of collective thinking. I think we're sort of understating the value of like just being able to gather and talk about things really provides such a value to a community that has had this big thing come up that could be a really good idea, which is obviously somebody else's job to figure out. But it would do so much to quell the division, the dissension, the discord, and the discontent that a lot of people seem to be feeling. I think the municipality is really well positioned to be able to give hard details like socioeconomic statistics, or as we've recently spent a lot of time learning about from Director Tory, like road quality indicators. But the municipality also should play a role in being the voice of the community, being a place where people can come together and actually share in the process of getting a unified opinion through evidence-based, researched, and articulated points. I don't think that PSAC should be a conduit to be, necessarily be sending in their own form of a municipal report. But at least developing a sense of like what the municipality thinks and feels about this project, what we're worried about, and just voicing our concerns. It's a lot different if it's just, here's Eric, who's some guy who lives in this part of the municipality and claims he has these qualifications and represents some group of people. Here's Brandon, who has, his people, here's Paul, for example, sorry to call you out. But it's another when you have a group of people who are really engaged and have been doing the work of learning and can kind of say, okay, well, here's, what we're still worried about. We're glad you gave us those answers. We're still worried about these things. And this is going to be a multi-year long process. There's going to be things that come up during construction that we're going to want to address. And having this input from people, maybe we need to revisit some of the meeting schedules, things like that. But there's a really good opportunity for people to get involved. And as I said earlier, there's going to be a bunch of opportunities for comments just with IAC and all of the yet to be named other organizations. It might also be helpful as we develop this website idea that PSAC could be a good sort of way to bounce, what that portal needs, so that we don't have to deal with that in the council chamber. They can inform staff, perhaps, of what we should be doing with that resource that we're going to create. And I just want to reiterate also Councillor Forder's comments that I don't think it's a good move for us to say to a very well-engaged committee who has a definite set of work. Like, we've really struggled to figure out what we even want advisory committees to work on. And we have a committee where there's a definite set of things that they can provide value to. Whether that's, I think we agreed not sending that into IAC, but at least saying what IAC says and other agencies say and bringing that back into the community. And all of the other points I had previously written down, I've already said. So with that, I welcome any other thoughts.
Councillor Yurg?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Respecting that, yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. So I'm just going to offer some counterpoints just for advocacy. So the public does already have an opportunity to actually even speak directly to council as opposed to seeking PSAC. They can come here and speak to us anytime they want. So if they have real concerns or questions or whatever, they can do that directly. So I'm not saying that that's not a forum for that. We've already dissolved the other advisory committee. So growing our economy. So to your point, Councillor Forder, yes, some of the committees that were formed struggled. Growing our economy is not one of those. We could have kept going easily and been heavily engaged. We were, really interested in things like the ECDEV plan and the BRNE and literally recommending, staff hiring. And so there are things that we felt that, we could still contribute. And that was kind of taken away from us as well, even though we felt we could have kept going and still made valuable contributions to council throughout the rest of this year. So there were reasons that kind of the advisory committees were talked about kind of doing that. From that avenue, it concerns me a little bit. So Councillor Greenfield, you said, so you haven't heard from Chamber, you haven't heard from real estate agency, local real estate companies, you haven't heard from insurance companies, and I'm thinking, why not? A little bit of my concern about PSAC, and I've watched a great deal of them. I haven't seen them all, but I've seen a great deal of them. Some of my concerns are, and you alluded to, it's directionality. So if there had been as much energy put into maybe chasing those mechanisms as opposed to saying, how can we stop this thing? That might have taken a different direction. That didn't really happen. And the other thing that really was, I think, paramount for that organization to talk about, and I've never really heard it talked about much, was contributions to the CBA. I mean, that was the whole point of this is we know what we can and cannot do. We can't veto this project. So rather than worrying about trying to get technical aspects, which are going to come down the road through IAC, let's talk about how the municipality can benefit. What should we be chasing that way? I haven't really heard a lot of that. So my concern is its directionality has been a problem. So the only way I would feel comfortable moving on is if there is a redirect on what that looks like. So we've had, so as chair of one of the advisory committees, we were kind of told that the advisory committee is born to be kind of the conduit So staff through council kind of direct and say, yeah, so here's something that you guys, we need advice on, we need direction on. Here it is. Go to it. And we didn't really have that. And again, that's through no fault of, I think, our current iteration. We went through a few staff changes, and it only finally came out in the wash in our final year that said, no, this is how these advisory committees should work. It was actually now almost too late to instigate it. Hopefully, in the next term of council, the advisory committees will be used to a better purpose and more to what they should be. But my concern is if it's not going to be used properly, then I'm concerned about it. So can that ship be righted? Then that's one thing. But moreover, is it fair that we've kind of taken the public voice out of all the other agencies, but we're going to keep that one going? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that one.
Yes, Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I use words that are inappropriate for the horseshoe, bring down the gavel. Thank you. This has been hellish because right from the beginning, council has been accused of not listening to people. Council has been accused of not standing up for the people. We have had comments this afternoon on a lengthy comment about what Councillor Greenfield brought forward. And it was, we're letting the people down. We're not telling the people all the information that they need to know. We have had people come to that podium and use the word demand to know. What I am going to tell now, I'm going to be careful with myself that I do not disclose closed session information. We had before us today what the new incoming council will be faced with training and bringing them up to speed on things which are important in the municipality. What has been so unbelievable on this very important subject is how many closed sessions we've had. And without saying anything about the meeting we had this very morning, Councillor Greenfield, on his opening remarks, I can't add to or detract from what Councillor Greenfield said. But what I do need the people to know is their voices have been heard. We have taken things into the consideration from the PSAC and from Save George and Bay and from people who fully support this project. That is our duty that this particular councillor takes very serious. I went home at noon hour today and looked at my phone, and again, I received messages that said, I'm letting them down. I'm not standing up for them. And what a disappointment we are. The CBA that we had this morning, the mayor announced the closed session. We went into the closed session. The mayor told the general public that this sitting council on the CBA has given direction to the group that we've got to bring forward to TC Energy in the coming days, weeks, or months, our position on many, many, many items. We have listened to the concerns. We are your neighbors. There are some who are friends very much with those that are opposed to the project. There are those of us who are still in business, who look at this as a business situation and how do we deal with it. Right from the very beginning, TC Energy has always said, be part of the conversation. They want to know. And we're going to be letting them know through the formal process that we have with Strategy Corps bringing forward our initial CBA. So all of the things that are important to people about the water, about the fish, about the air, about the traffic, about the noise, everything, everything, everything. Every one of us in this council is concerned about that. And if people who think that we're not, they're wrong, very wrong. We have woven into the CBA everything that we believe in our heart of hearts is important to be brought forward. I want to encourage people to know this. There will be a coming day, a time when the CBA will be released and you will be able to read it, you'll be able to discern it, you'll be able to pick it apart word for word, sentence to sentence. You'll be able to understand where this current council stood up and said some things on everyone's behalf. The whole issue of this PSAC, I've also had comments from people who have said, I would like to have been able to participate in that, but because of the current format of what goes on, they did not offer their time. So what's been going on? Everything that gets talked about and everything that gets mentioned, we do listen to it. This councillor has had a really hard time separating the wheat from the chaff. There's so much chaff. One side says that anything the other side says is nothing more than propaganda. And so we have to sit back and say, what is the truth? What is the kernel? What is that issue? What is the foundation of this project? Now that we've had the IAAC come to the Meaford Hall, over and over and over, they said what the CAO has said, what the deputy mayor has said. It is now at this stage of events to send in your comments to them. Every comment that you've ever had. What we had in our closed session this morning has been again another superior educational moment in all of our lives on council. And it's not going to end with the one we had this morning. More are coming down the pipe. I want to leave you all with this one final thought. Please trust us. And I know that now that I've said that, there will be people immediately who have said, we aren't going to trust you for a microsecond. I'm asking you, you elected us to run this municipality. The CAO today said something in the neighborhood of $20 million. Mr. CAO, it's more like $30 million. All the roads, everything we have. We had a guest speaker join us earlier this morning who said that when we vote on this, if we vote to disband it, I believe the quote that is on record is, we would be committing political suicide. Well, when you take on this position of sitting in this chair and serving this community, or any councillor anywhere in any place, it goes with the territory. It's called an election. And I, for one, fully respect elections and folks with the right to go out and cast their vote. You just take it as it comes. And if you can't, you're in the wrong business. So please, again, I ask, trust us. We are your friends, your neighbors, your business people. We also live here. It's important to us. So the disbanding of the PSAC Send your comments in, and unless the deputy mayor wishes to change the motion to reevaluating and redoing a terms of reference, the deputy mayor does not do that, then as it is written today to disband, I will support disbanding it. But, Madam Deputy Mayor, you were very brave in this. You've been very brave on many things. And I attribute that good courage that you've got because you also believe in this municipality. You've had an honor bestowed upon you, which you're going to be celebrating in the future. You have said this municipality has shaped who you are. You are a wonderful woman, and you are very courageous, and I consider you to be a very good counselor. And so with you bringing this forward today, you didn't do it in frivolousness, you didn't take it light, and you above all people know how serious this is. And I have heard my friends who are on council, I hope you are considering me your friend. This is a big deal. It's a huge deal. But I do believe that at this point in conjecture of time, we could disband the PSAC unless, Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor, you change it in any way. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for letting me talk at length. You're always very good at that. And so was the previous Mayor Klumpus. I think it does go with wearing the chain of office. You're very gracious. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for not having to use the gavel. I came pretty close at times. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
I guess it's back to me, Mr. Mayor, and I have to collect myself for a second after your comments, Councillor Bell. I'm really touched. Thank you so very much for all of the kind things you said and for your support. I'm incredibly grateful, and vice versa. I want to start just by expressing how much I appreciate the comments from each and every one of you. You were thoughtful, respectful, and honest in your remarks in relation to this motion. And I know this is a big deal. I know this is not an easy decision. I come back to in my mind, the fact that we are moving into a formal process and we want to assist our residents in recognizing that that is the channel for their comments, to take them right to the people who can address them, who can answer them, who can work with TC Energy to solve, mitigate whatever is required. And that a lot of those things we can't do as a municipality. We can share those comments, and PSAC has done a great job of doing that and bringing comments to this council. But as we move forward, and again, we don't have an exact timing for that, but as we move forward into that formal process, I want our public to know that that is the avenue, that is the channel. And again, Councillor Urick said it, people can come to this council anytime they wish and speak to us. They can email us, they can reach out to us through all sorts of forms of communication, which people do. To Councillor Greenfield's points about real estate agents and the Chamber of Commerce and so on. The PSAC agenda is just like our own council agenda. There's opportunities for the public to come and to talk about those things. And there's not just the opportunities that are here in our own agenda with the public participation, but there's also 15 minutes provided in that agenda where, you know, people can come and ask questions of us. And none of those suggested persons came to do that. And that's unfortunate. Yes, I agree. Perhaps there was information that could have been garnered that would have aided in some of the discussions that have been had at PSAC. So I'm going to let the motion stand as it is. I mean, I don't know what the vote's going to be. I expect it's going to be very close one way or the other. You know, if it fails, we can revisit the terms of reference and take another shot at this and reconstruct the committee in a way that is reflective of where we are now in this process and as we move into that, you know, formal side of things, if that is the choice of council. But I do feel that, you know, we need to focus our residents again on the process that is in front of us, that as we've said a dozen times today already, that was outlined and described to us at Meaford Hall, and to assist our residents in any way that they need to, you know, to be part of that process. But I do think that is our role, is to move forward in that regard. So yeah, again, we'll let the motion stand and see where things fall and readdress from there if need be.
Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Your Worship. If I may, I'd like to address comments made by a couple of my fellow council members. I'll start with Councillor Urick. He did mention that the public has been welcome to come to our council meetings, and that's true, but may I just remind him that the public can make public presentations or deputations once per year on a certain item, specific item, and that rather limits that number of presentations. And the other comment is that questions can only be asked if an item is on the agenda, and the pump storage project is not always on our agenda, so that does limit it. I'm really curious as to what Councillor Bell alluded to when he, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, alluded to the fact that I said council was holding back information, or there wasn't information coming forward from council. What I was referring to was specifically, there wasn't a lot of information coming forward from TC. Now, that's fine with me, because I know Mr. Little said on a couple of occasions, hey, we're just not there yet. We don't know the details. We don't know the information, and that's a fair answer. But that didn't alleviate the concerns or the fears that some people have. So I feel somewhat maligned by having that said about me. I don't think it was justifiable. And okay, won't take it any further.
Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I can see how the vote's probably going to go on this. I would like to do an amendment, and I would like to have it, Madam Deputy Mayor, you said something about a structuring of the terms of reference. Was that what you said, or was there something slightly different to re-look at how it's structured?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I may, to Councillor Bell, if the motion fails and we resume PSAG, I would think that if we're moving into the public process, we'll make the assumption that we are after the filing from TC Energy. And at that point, it would be my suggestion that we do look at the terms of reference to consider any changes that, you know, that may be necessary from PSAC's current rule to make it then fit with the formal process that would be beginning, because You know, I can't assume what might be decided by members of the committee. They might want to structure a process whereby, you know, they garner questions from the public and submit them, or, you know, there's a number of things that they could do. But I think there should be a consideration of the terms of reference in relation to where the project is in the process with IAC. Maybe the committee feels it needs to stay the same, but I would think there might want to be then a focus on how PSAC would participate in that very formal process.
Okay, thank you for that. So, I'm at a loss for words. Isn't that interesting? So looking towards our work, I would like to pick up also on my fellow counselors on what they've said about community and voice. And yet we're going to have to deal with what you brought forward. We will. How can I then say something where we keep it energized? We get to vote on something that says we'd like to revamp it, relook at it, new terms, that. And then we're going to go back and vote on what the deputy mayor has put before us. Do you have any thoughts how to put something together? Or Councillor Innes, maybe this should be something, you mentioned that also. So I'm looking for a little help on this, because one way it's going to get killed, and then later on, it'll come back again, either through a notice of motion. I'd like to see the momentum today. So I actually have to say something, don't I?
Through your worship to Councillor Bell, I might explain two different components, and if I'm misunderstanding the question, then I apologize and you can perhaps clarify. So I believe initially there was some discussion from the deputy mayor who indicated that the vote could happen and she was maybe not at this time entertaining an amendment to consider a change to the terms of reference. So I believe that the comment was this motion would go forward in her mind to council, and if it was defeated, then perhaps there would be an opportunity following that to review the terms of reference of the committee, and that would be the next step that council could consider. Should council at this time wish to propose an amendment to this motion, that could be in the topic of amending the terms of reference. We'd have to look at that from the perspective of a reconsideration, maybe, possibly because that was done in October. There was a terms of reference that was just adopted, a revised terms of reference that was just adopted by this council. I'm not sure if that helps to answer the question or if there was a different question at this time.
Councillor Ennis and then Councillor York.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, and to Councillor Bell. I mean, the way that I read the terms of reference, I don't see anything in here that, and maybe, you know, I'm not intimately familiar with it because I haven't been a member of this committee, but as far as I understand, at least from the mandate section, there is nothing that says that they are mandated to perform the service of delivering comments and questions, submitting those to IAC. Simply, I mean, that one area, number 5, about being informed by and reviewing technical and social research, I mean, that could kind of go either way, to what end they're doing that. But at the end of the day, I don't think there's anything actually wrong with the terms of reference from this perspective of we don't necessarily want PSAC to be a mechanism where we're sending input to IAC, but instead they're performing this role of, you know, building community and being a space for unity on a massive project. And just thinking on that point, Councillor Greenfield had said earlier, I mean, we regularly freak out about the enormity of the wastewater treatment project. And this is so many magnitudes bigger than that. So I think it really needs some special care and attention, and we need to do things with this project a little bit differently than we might do with other things, because it just is, the scale of what's going to be happening is so different. Councillor Urick is lined up next to speak, and just to sort of maintain the Oxford manner of counterpoints and devil's advocate a little bit. The thought of people coming into council, I think one sort of major problem is Councillor Greenfield brought up the rule I didn't know about of people being able to comment on one thing once per year. Often council meetings are in the middle of the day, which is a problem. Advisory committees are at least a little bit later, a little bit easier to skirt out of work potentially. Often with council meetings, this one, for example, this would probably be easier to join, but when people can show up to the meeting, we don't actually know what time to tell them. I think relying on that mechanism is a little bit tricky. And I think that there is a difference for the taxpayer who has a concern when they write an email versus when they come to council. I've done it myself. I know how different it feels. I know that I think we would be dishonest to say that things get the same amount, they're heard the same when you receive it in an email compared to when somebody actually comes to speak. We're not all there at PSAC, but at least usually two of us are. And I think it really does make a difference, and it allows that context and that color and those qualitative elements to make it to council a lot better. I think it's very unfortunate that the timing of all of this is the way that it is. I mean, for me personally, joining the team when I have, but also the fact that it's an election year, also the fact that we've kind of just passed the budget, also the fact that we're redoing our website. There's all of we've had staffing issues that we I think all feel very confident are solved or on their way to being solved. And so we're in a position now to really make the most out of this advisory committee and other advisory committees. I just really think it would be a shame to allow that red tape of process to kill something that fundamentally is a good for the community if it is something we want to be able to provide. And in the writing, I don't know if this is true of the other advisory committees, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I did notice in here there's a note that the committee will stay active until the 31st of after the election, the 31st of January after the election. We've already kind of got a bridge built in for a new council to come in, get familiar with the committee structure, get to understand how this is all working. And conceivably, a lot of this can still kind of function. If they're not providing any direction, they're just providing information to the community and providing advice kind of and sharing those comments back and forth. There's no reason that can't continue to happen over the summer and through the election period, as far as I understand. Maybe that's wrong in a lame duck scenario, but with all of those things, I think we would be better off to either figure out a way to amend the terms of reference or reconsider, I think was the term, or just keep the committee alive for now and find a way through the direction of the committee provided by the committee members to find out how to actually make them useful. We want to get this figured out for the next term of council, so this is a great way to do it when we actually have things for a committee to work on.
Councillor Urick, I think you had your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I can't disagree with you. It's all about process and results. So what I alluded before, like with growing our economy, what we did was we didn't really have a sense of direction from staff. So we took the impetus. We went out and got chamber. We went out and got various organizations to come in to speak to us on things that we felt would be relevant to the impacts that are going to happen to be on the community. So we played a push environment on that to try and get information. So I agree with you on it provides a platform. So yes, you can come here, speak here once. Yes, I get that. We email all that. With us not having any regulatory control, other than that being a session where they can get together, and so what are they going to advise us on? Because what should have really transpired was over the past 2 years is great input into the CBA. Well, we're already in negotiation with that. So that ship's kind of sailed. And it should have been, and again, the other thing goes into a lot of the technical information. Well, once again, the technical information is not our bailiwick either. So for them just to want that information is great. But again, you're asking a proponent that hasn't even started the process yet. So you're asking information that doesn't exist. And that was frustrating for them. I understand that. But what is it going to accomplish now if you're not going to really discuss the CBA? And the technical info is all going to be available on the IAC stage, because that's where it should be. Because again, we're not regulatory and we're not informational. We're not dissemination of any of that. So what are they really going to be doing to kind of advise us, other than listening to the community and going, I don't like this, I don't like that, or whatever? But those two avenues, one's kind of closed and one is now wide open. So what is going to be their primary role?
Mr. Mayor, I know Eric had his hand up. Did you want to go or did you want me to go?
I could go. I don't know. I wanted to be polite. I wasn't sure. I was just gonna say that, I think what could, be a good way to make use of the committee at this time would be to, identify, like, we're gonna because the committees are essentially gonna have to be redrawn more or less, for the new term of council. The terms of reference will probably be modified a little bit. But it might be worth at least now figuring out, how do we communicate these? How do we continue to take what we learned from IAC in person the other day and get that into the community? I think the committee, the mandate is perfectly clear in that they should play the role of continuing to do the Lord's work in that sense of getting that information out. And as the process develops, when the IPD comes out, continuing to figure out how to get that information just to the average person, so that the average person also, if they choose to, can provide meaningful comments. Even people who are engaged, there's a lot of nuance to these things, a lot of terms that really don't make sense. And to help sort of, help make all of that make sense to people so that they really can be engaged. I think a lot of people too, just in my own experience with these kinds of things, don't necessarily really know how, or there's a disconnect between wanting to be involved and knowing how to get involved in a meaningful way, and just being told, well, you can just send an email to the government of Canada and they'll listen to you. It's hard to actually then take that information and make it useful if you haven't been given something. So I think there's some sort of preliminary work that can be done there in the next couple of months. And in the meantime, they can also figure out how the next committee should be structured to make sure that we have good people in place, if we were to revive a similar committee, to work on this website plan that we have. How do we get people who actually have technical expertise, who can read through some of these documents, figure out what to highlight, and put sticky notes beside, so that people can go back to the official sources, the public formal record, and know what they're know how to find what they're looking for, how to interpret it, and go from there.
Okay, thank you. Can I invite the deputy mayor to
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yes, I think we should soon call the vote and move on. But I just wanted to come back to Councillor Urich's comments, because I think what you said was very relevant because of where we ended up today with the motion from PSAC, that we found ourselves in a position where we had something in front of us that was very difficult to address because it is not within our jurisdiction. It was something that really wasn't such a tremendous ask that it was, above us. So I think, those sorts of things coming from the committee are not really helpful, because we can't solve them. And it looks like the CIO has his finger on the microphone. Perhaps we should go to CIO Everett.
Through Mr. Mayor. So, typically, from a process perspective, when you have a notice of motion on the floor, it has, any amendment has to follow the same intention of what the notice of motion is. So we have a notice of motion on the floor to dissolve the PSAC committee. you can't really have another motion that talks about keeping the PSAC and revising the terms of reference. Like Robert's rules, like we talk, like there's a process, and quite frankly, I'm not used to having any amendments to notices of motion because the notice of motion is the individual counselor's notice of motion. And there's nothing wrong with voting a notice of motion down. Even when a counselor brings forward a notice of motion to get on the floor, you don't have to approve it. Like it doesn't, you don't need to say yes. You can stop it right before it even comes to this point. And I'm sure council knows that, but I'm struggling with taking a notice of motion and then changing the intention of, because that's not what's supposed to happen. And typically I'm used to, and we have to, Margaret and I have to talk about process. Like if there was the idea of doing a terms of reference revision, that would actually have to come to another council meeting in the form of another notice of motion, right? So these are very distinct processes that aren't like a typical motion. As far as the other piece that I just want to be crystal clear about is we have a procedural bylaw, which talks about notices of motions as well. We all need to do a better job of following the procedural bylaw because there was the comment made about only being able to speak once per year. With all due respect, there's been lots of times where people have spoken multiple times. So like we need to do as a group, follow the procedural bylaw much better. And we're looking at, the revisions of the procedural bylaw anyways. So just to move forward procedurally, we have a notice of motion. We can do the vote. If it doesn't pass, then if at the next meeting, council would like to bring back another notice of motion, and I'm not picking this apart, I'm just, if somebody wanted to challenge our process, we have to make sure the process is done correctly.
This is a motion for decision. Typically, what's really looked for in this situation, I think, is a friendly amendment.
Which
and
stays germane to the intent of the motion. Yes.
At the same time, I think that what in both cases we have considered is, or the mover has considered either deferring or withdrawing or accepting a change in the not the intent, because but in the way which you would affect what you're trying to accomplish.
Yes, and with all due respect, I don't know if I've heard the deputy mayor say that she is.
I thought I
yeah,
had heard
so,
that.
But I will leave it at that. Thanks.
Clarify too, I'm not necessarily, I mean, given what I'm reading in the terms of reference, I'm not advocating at this time to go through the process of consider changing them, perhaps just the direction within the existing terms of reference. But I guess at this time, sort of is one of the voices sort of opposing the motion as it is. I would say that it would be my preference to not dismiss PSAC and work with them to figure out how to proceed forward through the formal process and set things up for a good supportive committee to the actions that we've already agreed to today.
Councilor Ehrig, we've been around.
I'll keep it short, because when I asked specifically, so if it wasn't going to get into the technical, because IAC's going to do that, it's not going to be the CBA because we're already in negotiation. What are they going to do? And you came back and you said more about communication. Does that fly in the face of what we literally just did by a motion earlier today to be us as the arbiters of communication to the public on this vehicle, on the whole project? We said we would be the ones that would be on the website, and we're the ones that are gonna kind of play that role. So is that not a duplication of effort?
Thank you. Through Mr. Mayor, I would say no. I think it's two different channels kind of doing the same thing, which I guess in a way is duplication of effort, but that's how communication works. You have to have multiple channels kind of communicating the same thing. There's a way, some people will go to the website, some people will talk to their neighbors, some people will talk to their friends and, the sort of influential people in whatever their circles are. And I think it will be very important. I mean, yeah, maybe staff can handle the process of curating that kind of website and that kind of portal. But I think having a volunteer resource that hopefully will have actual like a good body of expertise who can help sort through and sift through all of that information to be a lending hand or a helping hand will go a long way. And it would be advantageous in my mind to set that up now with the committee that we have so that as we move forward over the next couple of years, we have a really good framework for how to make the website channel work and the sort of human to human channels.
So how would they disseminate that information? Because essentially the advisory committee is set up to design, to make recommendations to this body, who then acts to do whatever. How do they disseminate all that communique? Because they're not set up to be the information portal to anywhere. They're literally set up as an advisory committee to us.
Without having the entire terms of reference memorized, I don't know that it specifically says in there either way, but it very clearly mandates that that's what they're meant to do. So I mean, there's an error in there potentially that it doesn't explain how they should do that. But I think there's a lot of room for the members, the chair and other members of the committees to figure that out themselves. I mean, we have only just agreed that we want to go through this process, which I think is great. But we also can't have the exact pathway for how to do that. We're not going to have it milated in the next couple of days. It's going to take some time. It's going to take a couple of meetings. And like I said, we'll have multiple months to work through this to set us up for the next couple of years. And this process, I think, will be very important. It's only a matter of time until another large project comes along that we're going to want to do something like this again.
I think we're going to call the vote then. I just want to conclude with a comment of my own. First of all, I'd like to thank the PSAC committee members. If anybody failed, it was us because we gave you an impossible task. This community is divided along very, very dramatic lines, and I think it's very hard for people to see the opposing view and to give it any value. Anyway, I think that I want them to understand that from my standpoint, I wanted it to be a committee that embraced every important position in the community. And it was very, very challenging in the end for it to work to great efficacy. Anyway, thank you to you people. And I'm going to call the vote. All in favor of, yes, a recorded vote.
Thank you, Your Worship. With a recorded vote, there is a process. If I could
Yes, you
outline that process. So
do that.
just for information, because we haven't done a recorded vote in a number of meetings. When a recorded vote is requested, the clerk shall call the names and record the vote in a certain order. So it will be the requester first, followed by the next councillor in alphabetical order, with the deputy mayor and mayor voting last, second last and last. So with Councillor Greenfield requesting the recorded vote, I'll go through and call in that order. Councillor Greenfield. Councillor Uhrig. Councillor Bell.
Yes.
Councillor Ennis.
No.
Councillor Forder.
No.
Deputy Mayor Keaveney. Mayor Kentner.
Yes.
With a vote count of 4-3, the vote passes.
Thank you for your help there. So I'm just trying to find my place on the agenda. moved around a bit here. We have a recommendation, be it resolved that Council of the Municipality of Meaford hereby adopt the minutes of the council meeting held on February 9th, 2026, and the closed meetings held on February 2nd, 2026, and February 9, 2026. Mover and a seconder for this, moved by Councillor Greenfield and seconded by Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried unanimously. Is there anything on the communications list that people wanted to raise? We have minutes of the Growing Our Economy Advisory Committee, Investing in Infrastructure, and the Public Library Board, the Owen Sound and North Grey Union Public Library Board, and County Council. Anything on the correspondence list? Did you have something? Go ahead.
May I just ask a question of either you or the deputy mayor? Deputy Mayor, you mentioned about the downloading of some parts of county roads to the lower tiers. You mentioned County Road 12. Are they all being downloaded this year? Is there a phased in process for the downloading? I just wondered if 12 is on for 20.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Greenfield. Yes, I'm going to pass this printout to you, and it lists the roads that are going to be, well, I don't know that it's going to be particularly helpful. This one just has the funding on it. But yes, there are 4 roads in the county that are going to be under construction, and they won't be downloaded until late in October. And the rest of the roads, they are hoping to get done before the 6th of July. And during that time frame, there will be a period where the concierge service will be available to the public for civic address changes, so that members of staff, 3 members of staff at county will be dedicated to assist people with everything from changing your health card to your Visa card to, your passport, to anything that you're having issues with. The staff will assist. And there is a 10-year structure of payment, and that's what this particular chart is. So I will hand that over to you, and I know Margaret will want that seen by everyone, so it can go to Margaret. And that will outline the payment that will come to Meaford. And that happens in an annual payment over the next 10 years. And there are larger funds to lower tiers like West Grey, because they have a significant length of road and bridges that are going to be exchanged. Hanover, I don't want to say they have the worst of it, but they have the biggest challenge. We've talked about this at this council before. The boundary agreement between Hanover and West Grey is changing, and so they're trying to structure this downloading and uploading of roads so that it coincides with the provincial approval of that boundary change, so that people only have to change their address once. So I'm sorry, I didn't bring a map of all of the downloading, but that does speak to the funding again for us here in Meaford. And for us, it is just those 2 urban sections of roads that are coming to us. We're not uploading anything to the county at this point in time. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
CAO Everett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for council's information as well, Grey County will be coming to this council on March the 8th, March the 9th, to provide an overview and an update of this specific subject matter. So they'll be presenting to us.
Okay. And I think if that is it, we have one last duty today. That's a confirming bylaw. The recommendation is to be it resolved that bylaw 2026-22, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the meeting of council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Meaford, be taken as read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed. A mover and a seconder, please. Tony Bell and Councillor Ennis, all in favor. Anyone opposed? I believe it was unanimous. And with that, I'll declare this meeting adjourned.